रुकेंगे टू सेइंग यार एक बार देख तो लें कि हमारी एम्प्लॉयमेंट की क्या प्रोस्पेक्ट है, हमारी जॉब की क्या प्रोस्पेक्ट है बिफोर वी कमिट। तो आई थिंक रियल एस्टेट हमारे हिसाब से हैज सीन द पीक। अब उसके ऊपर में और पीक आना बहुत मुश्किल है इस बाजार के अंदर माहौल में। इंटरेस्ट रेट कम हो रहे हैं, उससे डिमांड बढ़ सकती है, बट वो है मिडिल सेगमेंट की। जो लग्जरी सेगमेंट जो बढ़ते जा रहा था वो आई थिंक अब वो थोड़ा सा रुकेगा। और ये भी समझ लीजिए वेल्थ इम्पैक्ट भी आ रहा है मार्केट में। जो हमने करोड़ों रुपए के प्रॉफिट पे लोग बैठे थे, उनके लिए खर्चना बड़ा आसान था कि आपने खरीद दिया लाख रुपया, 5 लाख रुपया रोज का, 10 लाख रुपया प्रॉपर्टी खरीद ली। अब जो मार्केट रिटर्न्स नीचे आ गई हैं, उससे आपकी वेल्थ भी नीचे आ गई है, आपकी मेंटालिटी भी आ गई है कंजर्वेशन की। लास्ट ईयर मेंटालिटी थी स्पेंड, आज की मेंटालिटी है कंजर्व। और जब कंजर्व होती है तो आप फिर कंजर्व करते हैं, फिर सेविंग की तरफ जाते हैं या उन इंस्ट्रूमेंट की तरफ। तो मेरे हिसाब से ये साल डिफिकल्ट रहेगा, बिकॉज वेल्थ इंपैक्ट लोगों का फर्क, उनकी मेंटालिटी पे फर्क पड़ेगा कि यार कमिट करें बड़े खर्चे को, नहीं करें या अभी रुक जाएं।
बिल्कुल सही बात कही आपने अजय जी। और थोड़ा जरूरत भी थी, थोड़ा सा एक ऐसी एक चेतावनी तो मैं नहीं कहूँगा, लेकिन थोड़ा सा एक कंट्रोल भी किया जाए इस मतलब पूरी तेजी के माहौल में। तो थैंक यू सो मच आज हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए और इन सब टॉपिक्स पर बात करने के लिए। चलिए काम करते हैं, अब ट्रेड्स की बात करते हैं वापस, क्योंकि काफी ट्रेडिंग अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं इस समय। 4 का चौका का सीक्वेंस बताते हैं आपको, जो 4 बड़ी ट्रेड्स मिलने वाली हैं। निफ्टी डे हाई के करीब करीब सेटल हो रहा है। मानस जी के पास चलेंगे सस्ता ऑप्शन के लिए, उसके बाद चलेंगे सचिन जी के पास एफएनओ सुपरस्टार के लिए, चंदन जी के पास चलते हैं चार्ट का चमत्कार लेकर, और सनी अग्रवाल जी हमारे साथ जुड़ेंगे एक मिड कैप फंडा के लिए। तो मानस जी आप बताइए सस्ता ऑप्शन।
तो देखिए सस्ता ऑप्शन के लिए आईटी स्पेस पे ध्यान है। आईटी स्पेस में विप्रो पे ध्यान दीजिए, क्योंकि विप्रो में कंसोलिडेशन दिख रहा था और ये कंसोलिडेशन 20 डे मूविंग एवरेज के नीचे हो रहा था। आज हमें एक प्राइस ब्रेकआउट देखने को मिला है, 20 डे मूविंग एवरेज के ऊपर स्टॉक निकला है। तो 250 का कॉल ऑप्शन विप्रो का जो 6 रुपए पे ट्रेड हो रहा है, इसमें आपको 3.5 रुपए के स्टॉप लॉस से खरीदारी करके चलनी है और 12 रुपए के टारगेट सेट करते हैं।
विप्रो का आपको 250 का कॉल ऑप्शन लेना है, ये आपके लिए 6 रुपए पर है इस समय। ये आपकी ट्रेड हो गई मानस जी की। सचिन जी आपने क्या पिक किया?
अनुज जी, सुबह हमने एसबीआई में एक ट्रेड अपॉर्चुनिटी हाईलाइट की थी। 795 का पहला टारगेट था, वो अचीव हो चुका है एंड वहां से वापस थोड़ी सी गिरावट हो रही है। तो मुझे लग रहा है वापस एक अच्छा बेहतरीन मौका होगा। जिस इंटेंसिटी से ये गैप अप ओपनिंग हुई है, एक इम्पोर्टेंट रेजिस्टेंस के ऊपर का गैप है, तो मुझे लग रहा है ये वापस जो पुल बैक मिला है एक अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटी है जहां पर लॉन्ग पोजीशंस बनानी चाहिए। तो यहाँ पर फ्रेश ट्रेड होगा ऑन द लॉन्ग साइड। एसबीआई खरीदारी करने की सलाह होगी। स्टॉप लॉस आपको 770 पे लगाना है, यहाँ से 781 के आसपास इसके फ्यूचर्स चल रहे हैं। तो 770 के स्टॉप लॉस के साथ फ्रेश लॉन्ग एडिशंस करने हैं। टारगेट ऑन दी अपसाइड इंटैक्ट होंगे। इंट्राडे का टारगेट वापस होगा अराउंड 795 का, सेकंड टारगेट होगा अराउंड 820 का।
ओके, एसबीआई में फ्यूचर्स बाय करने हैं आपको, आपके आज फ्यूचर्स कॉल एफएनओ सुपरस्टार। चलते हैं अब चंदन जी के पास, आज का चार्ट का चमत्कार पिक करने। चंदन जी क्या पिक कर रहे हैं आप?
बिल्कुल, मेरा फोकस यहाँ पे रहेगा एचडीएफसी लाइफ पे। एचडीएफसी लाइफ में पिछले 7-8 दिनों के लोअर टॉप लोअर बॉटम और हल्के से करेक्टिव मूव के बाद में आज गैप अप ओपनिंग होकर सस्टेन बाइंग इंटरेस्ट बना है। मेजर ट्रेंड इस काउंटर का पॉजिटिव है, लगातार की मूविंग एवरेजेस को होल्ड कर रहा है। राइजिंग सपोर्ट ट्रेंड लाइन इंटेक्ट है। डेटा सेटअप इंडिकेट कर रहा है पॉजिटिव मूव बनना चाहिए। तो एचडीएफसी लाइफ पे खरीदारी की सलाह। 722 का सपोर्ट रहेगा, ऊपर में लगभग 758 तक के टारगेट यहाँ पे बनने चाहिए।
ओके, एचडीएफसी लाइव 734 पे आपका बाय कॉल। चलते हैं अब सनी जी के पास, आज का मिड के फंड पिक करने के लिए। सनी जी गुड मॉर्निंग, क्या पिक कर रहे हैं आप?
गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन। आज का पिक रहेगा अंबर एंटरप्राइजेस विद अ प्राइस टारगेट ऑफ 7200 एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट हॉराइजन ऑफ 6 to 12 months। बेसिकली वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट रूम एयर कंडीशनर प्लेयर है। बड़े ब्रांड्स को प्रोडक्ट बनाकर सप्लाई करती है और रिसेंटली कंपनी ने अपने बिजनेस को डाइवर्सिफाई करने के लिए इलेक्ट्रॉनिक प्रोडक्ट में भी फोरे किया है। जैसे रिसेंटली एसेंट सर्किट को एक्वायर किया और वहाँ पीसीबीए के थ्रू वहाँ कहीं ना कहीं एंट्री। तो जो बिजनेस में कहीं ना कहीं जो फ्लक्चुएशन आते हैं वो हमें लगता है कि आगे जाके रिड्यूस होंगे। अगर हम नंबर्स की बात करें तो हमारा ये मानना है कि FY25 में कंपनी तकरीबन 9,500 करोड़ की टॉप लाइन दर्ज करेगी और 267 करोड़ का पैट दर्ज करेगी, जो बढ़ करके हमारी उम्मीद है कि अगले 2 साल में प्रॉफिट 267 करोड़ वाला तकरीबन 570-580 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट हो जाएगा। आरओई जो आज के डेट में 11-12% है, एक्सपैंड होकर 18% हो जाएगा। अगर हम वैल्यूएशन की बात करें तो FY27 पर 34 टाइम्स प्राइस टू अर्निंग मल्टीपल पर कंपनी के पोर्टफोलियो में ग्रेजुअली एक्यूमुलेट किया जा सकता है।
ओके, एम्बर एंटरप्राइजेस चार ट्रेड्स पिक किए हमने यहाँ पे। शुरुआत की थी मानाची के सस्ता ऑप्शन ट्रेड से। पहला ट्रेड आपकी स्क्रीन पे आएगा, विप्रो की मे की 250 की कॉल और 12 का लक्ष्य 690 का यहाँ पे स्तर है। अगला ट्रेड आया आज सचिन जी का, फिर सुपरस्टार पिक किया उन्होंने यहाँ पर एसबीआई फ्यूचर्स 795 के लक्ष्य के लिए, 820 के लक्ष्य के लिए। चंदन जी ने पिक किया आज का ट्रेड एचडीएफसी लाइफ 758 पे, चार्ट का चमत्कार। और जो लास्ट ट्रेड आया जहाँ पे इन्वेस्टमेंट कॉल वो थी अंबर एंटरप्राइजेस पे, सनी अग्रवाल जी की 7200 का लक्ष्य। खैर अभी काम करते हैं। निफ्टी इज एट डे हाई 24,647 सुपर स्विंग, और ये आखिरी के 20 मिनटों को स्पॉन्सर किया है निफ्टी आईटी ने। जरा लेके आइए। निफ्टी आईटी कुछ हिचकिचाहट थी शुरुआत में, 943 तक जो इंडेक्स 36,760 पे था, अनुज 250 350 पॉइंट जोड़े निफ्टी आईटी ने, वो रिक्वायर्ड पुश निफ्टी आईटी ने। क्या लग रहा है?
मुझे लग रहा था कि अब आईटी की ही बारी थी, और मेरे ख्याल से फोकस करिए ऐसे स्टॉक्स पर जहां पर यूएस यूके सारे एंगल हैं। आप देखिए क्या एक एक करके स्टॉक्स में मूव आ रहे हैं। एम्फेसिस देखिए, मुझे लग रहा है आज ये आईटी स्टॉक्स, खासतौर से मिड कैप आईटी स्टॉक्स जो काफी गिरे थे, इनमें काफी जगह है ये टुवर्ड्स द एंड और बड़ी रैली अगर दिखा दें, क्योंकि एक जो बड़ा डर था मार्केट का वो टैरिफ, अब टैरिफ वाला मामला भी खत्म हो गया, ये मान के चलिए। आई थिंक डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प को भी समझ आ गई है कि ये ऐसे दुनिया चलेगी नहीं उनके हिसाब से, तो वो और डील हुई, और अगर वो रिस्क खत्म हुआ, डॉलर इंडेक्स पॉजिटिव होगा, अगर ये सब होगा तो इसका एक बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट जो है वो आईटी पर पड़ेगा मेरे ख्याल से, पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट। और निफ्टी आईटी काफी गिरा था, हमने सबने देखा था, बहुत ज्यादा गिरा था निफ्टी आईटी। मुझे लग रहा है यहाँ पर शानदार मोमेंटम है इस समय। मिड कैप आईटी पे फोकस करिए, आज मुझे लग रहा है यहाँ पर आपको बड़ी रैली देखने को मिलेगी। आज सुबह हमने बिग स्टॉक में इन्फोसिस लिया था, वो सिर्फ एक एज रिप्रेजेंटेटिव था पूरे सेक्टर का, बात तो पूरे सेक्टर की थी, तो सेक्टर में शानदार मूव है। एक काम करते हैं, यतिन के पास चलते हैं। और बाय द वे मार्केट देखिए, अब आप 24,600 क्रॉस करने के बाद और गेन ऐड करते हुए 24,670 पर अब इस समय निफ्टी। यतिन के पास चलते हैं आज के स्टॉक्स ऑफ द डे के लिए। यतिन, गुड मॉर्निंग।
गुड मॉर्निंग। और बखूबी आज अगर हम देखें तो स्टॉक ऑफ द डे अगर हम बात करें तो सन फार्मा पे नजरें होनी चाहिए। जो डोनाल्ड ट्रंप का स्टेटमेंट आया है कि फार्मा कंपनियों को अपने दाम घटाने होंगे, हेल्थ केयर की जो कॉस्ट है यूएस में कम होनी चाहिए, एक एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑर्डर बहुत जल्द इस पे देखने मिलेगा। तो कहीं ना कहीं फाइन प्रिंट आने के पहले फार्मा शेयर में थोड़ा पैनिक है, और सेक्टर का सबसे लीड स्टॉक सन फार्मा 5% नीचे। इनफैक्ट आज निफ्टी का जो फार्मा इंडेक्स है वही एक इंडेक्स है जो लाल निशान में है, बाकी सारे सेक्टर इंडेक्स आपको हरे निशान में ट्रेड करते हुए नजर पड़ रहे हैं। तो फार्मा शेयरों में सन फार्मा क्लियरली आज प्रेशर में। एसआरएफ और नवीन फ्लोरिन शेयर्स आपको नए हाईस पे दिखाई पड़ रहे हैं, स्पेशली नवीन फ्लोरिन के नंबर्स के बाद, जहां लगभग 7% का साल दर साल बेसिस पे मार्जिन एक्सपेंशन हुआ। दोनों ही एसआरएफ और नवीन फ्लोरिन में 1 से 2% से ज्यादा की तेजी देखने को मिल रही है। और बीएससी लिमिटेड, ये कंपनी का शेयर 7,000 रुपए के पार जाता हुआ आपको नजर पड़ा है। इनफैक्ट अभी बीएससी का मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन लगभग 95,000 करोड़ है, और किसी भी वक्त आपको ये 1 लाख करोड़ का मार्केट कैप क्रॉस होता हुआ नजर पड़ सकता है। बीएससी का शेयर आज भारतीय बाजारों में तेजी के चलते ऑल टाइम हाई पे आपको देखने को मिल रहा है।
ओके यतिन, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। तो ये सारे आज के बिग स्टॉक्स। नोटम जो बेसिकली जो कुछ एयरपोर्ट्स थे जिनको कुछ समय के लिए बंद किया गया था, 32 एयरपोर्ट, वो सब के सब वापस अब चालू होंगे, तो ये एक और बड़ा पॉजिटिव। लेकिन मेरी नज़र बार बार जा रही है कुछ स्टॉक्स पर, खास तौर से मिड कैप आईटी पर। मानस जी, आपने तो खैर विप्रो लिया, लेकिन विप्रो के अलावा कोई और आईटी स्टॉक जो जिसको चेज किया जा सकता है, मिड कैप में कोई चेज करने वाला स्टॉक होगा क्या?
तो देखिए, मिड कैप की अगर बात करें तो परसिस्टेंट पे बिल्कुल नजर रखिए, क्योंकि ये ब्लैक पैटर्न का ब्रेकआउट है, 5650 के ऊपर का ब्रेकआउट है, इसलिए परसिस्टेंट में करंट लेवल्स पे भी खरीदारी की जा सकती है। आपके जो स्टॉप लॉसेस हैं वो 5550 के नीचे लगा के रखिए, पोजिशनल ट्रेड लीजिए, और अब कम से कम 6000 के टारगेट रखिए।
ओके, परसिस्टेंट। और जरा प्लीज एक बार निफ्टी और निफ्टी बैंक का क्रॉस चार्ट रखिए, और बीते 20 मिनटों में 10 मिनटों में जो निफ्टी आईटी ने करिश्माई पारी खेली है उसका आपको इम्पैक्ट नजर आएगा। तो क्या निफ्टी बैंक ने लगभग 933 पर अचीव कर लिया था 55,100। क्रॉस शॉट रखेंगे डायरेक्टर साहब, वो आपको नजर आएगा। और उसी दौरान लगभग 100 पॉइंट का फ्रैक्शन और मेंटेन किया निफ्टी ने। तो इट्स निफ्टी आईटी जो कि इस पारी को जीतता हुआ। ये देखिए, ये क्रॉस चार्ट स्टेबल और उसके बाद एक स्पाइक आया। खैर, इस कार्यक्रम को एक विराम देते हैं, लेकिन एक काम करते हैं, एक आईटी में कॉल और जोड़ लेते हैं। सचिन जी, अगर एक आईटी में स्टॉक आपको जोड़ना हो, सिंस 37,210 पे निफ्टी आईटी इज नाउ अबव 50-day एक्सपोनेंशियल मूविंग एवरेज पोस्ट जैन 2025, क्या जोड़ेंगे आप यहां पर?
लीडर को ही चूज करूंगा। आई थिंक इन्फोसिस जिस इंटेंसिटी से इसने ब्रेक किया है 1550 का लेवल, तो मुझे लग रहा है यहाँ पर मोमेंटम काफी ड्यूरेबल होगा। अपने 50-day एक्सपोनेंशियल मूविंग एवरेज को भी ब्रेक करने की तैयारी है, एंड प्लस इसका जो डेली एडीएक्स है वो वेल पोजिशनड है ब्रेकआउट के लिए। तो मुझे लग रहा है अभी तक जो हमने तेजी देखी है उस पे भी मुझे लग रहा है थोड़ी सी एड ऑन होगी, एंड लगभग अराउंड 1655 तक की हेडरूम यहाँ पर अवेलेबल होते हुए नजर आ रही है। तो यहाँ पर इन्फोसिस में मुझे लग रहा है मोमेंटम चेस करने में कोई हर्ज नहीं है। स्टॉप लॉस आपको यहाँ से लगभग अराउंड 1545 पे लगाना चाहिए ऑन क्लोजिंग बेसिस, एंड पोजीशंस को रिव्यू करना है अराउंड 1650 1655 के जोन में।
ओके, चलिए, तो ये इस समय आपके लिए ट्रेड्स आती हुई कि आप फोकस करें इन स्टॉक्स पर। इन्फोसिस कैन बी वन ऑफ द कॉल्स। और मार्केट में अब इस समय काफ़ी मोमेंटम। बाय द वे, वो जो नोटम वाला ऑर्डर आया था उसके बाद, वो जो इंडिगो में खुलने के बाद प्रॉफिट बुकिंग आई थी, उसके बाद अब एक वापस एक हल्की सी तेज़ी आपको आती हुई दिखाई देगी। ये देखते हैं अब अगर ये स्टॉक अगर सुबह का इंटरडे हाई क्रॉस करेगा, यानी 5597 का हाई था, सो बड़ा गैप अप हुआ, उसके बाद प्रॉफिट बुकिंग आई, अब एक और बड़ा ग्रीन बार यहाँ पर बनता हुआ। चलिए, इस शो को यहाँ समेट लेते हैं। राजेश जी, सचिन जी हमारे साथ अगले शो में कंटिन्यू करेंगे। सनी जी, गाबर सर, मानस जी, चंदन जी, आप सबका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। वीर में लौट रहे हैं 10 सेकंड के ब्रेक के बाद 10 के दमदार ट्रीट्स में। ट्रेंड्स, निफ्टी और बैंक निफ्टी पर क्या हो ट्रेडिंग स्ट्रेटजी?
फ्यूचर एंड ऑप्शन मार्केट की पूरी बारीकियां, कल के डेटा क्या कहती है डेरिवेटिव्स की रिपोर्ट, बाजार
नमस्कार, सीएनबीसी आवाज मोतीलाल ओसवाल स्टूडियो में आप सभी का स्वागत है। तैयारी करेंगे 10 के दमदार ट्रेड्स की हेडलाइंस के साथ। भारत पाकिस्तान युद्ध विराम और अमेरिकी चीन ट्रेड डील से बाजार में तूफानी तेजी। निफ्टी 700 पॉइंट और बैंक निफ्टी 1500 पॉइंट दौड़ा। मिड कैप और स्मॉल कैप में भी जोरदार उछाल। वहीं डर का इंडेक्स इंडिया विक्स करीब 20% फिसला। मार्केट दिग्गज एमके वेंचर्स के फाउंडर मधु किला ने खास बातचीत में कहा, मौजूदा स्तर से और बेहतर प्रदर्शन कर सकता है बाजार।
आज के बिग स्टॉक्स और स्पॉटलाइट पड़े सटीक। बिग स्टॉक्स पर इन्फोसिस करीब 3% भागा, तो अच्छे नतीजों के दम पर गाइडेंस नवीन फ्लोरिन 52 हफ्तों की ऊंचाइयों पर पहुंचा। उधर स्पॉटेड शेयर एलटीआई माइंट्री भी 3% ऊपर। सभी शेयरों पर बुलिश नजरिया दिया गया था।
आईटी, रियल्टी, फाइनेंस, मेटल, कैपिटल गुड्स शेयरों में सबसे ज्यादा तेजी। चारों सेक्टर इंडेक्स 3 से 4% तक उछले। ऑटो, सरकारी बैंक और एफएमसीजी में भी रौनक। वहीं अमेरिका में ट्रंप के नए ऑर्डर के बाद दवाएं सस्ती होने की आशंका से फार्मा इंडेक्स करीब 2% फिसला।
आज 12 बजे भारत और पाकिस्तान के डीजीएमओ की बातचीत। सेना बोली ऑपरेशन सिंदूर अभी जारी है। पाकिस्तान ने सीज फायर तोड़ा तो देंगे करारा जवाब। कल रात बॉर्डर एरिया में दिखी शांति। इधर देश में 32 एयरपोर्ट के संचालन को फिर मिली मंजूरी। नोटम यानी नोटिस टू एयरमैन के आदेश वापस लिए गए।
ओके, चलिए अब आगे बढ़ते हैं शो में। और 10 के दमदार ट्रेड्स में हमारे साथ एक दमदार पैनल जुड़ेगा। सचिदानंद उत्तेकर और राजेश सरपोते पिछले शो से बने हुए हैं। अमित सेठ भी जुड़ेंगे शो में और जतिन गेडिया भी अपनी फ्रेश ट्रेड के साथ इस शो में शिरकत करेंगे। हमारे साथ हेलियोस इंडिया के सीईओ लिंशो ईरानी जुड़ेंगे, उनसे मार्केट ट्रेंड पर बात करेंगे। और उसके बाद कोटक सिक्योरिटीज के रिसर्च हेड श्रीकांत चौहान भी मौजूद होंगे, उनसे भी कुछ टेक्निकल ट्रेड्स लेंगे। लेकिन इससे पहले एक नज़र डालते हैं इस समय मार्केट पर, और मार्केट में इस समय मोमेंटम बहुत ही शानदार आपको दिखाई देगा। और इस समय निफ्टी देखिए, अब आप 700 पॉइंट की तेजी के साथ 24,700 के पार कर रहा है कारोबार। बैंक निफ्टी 3% ऊपर, और निफ्टी आईटी में बहुत ही शानदार तेजी। निफ्टी आईटी इनफैक्ट अब लीड करता हुआ मार्केट को, और अब यहाँ पर करीब करीब 3.25% की रैली आपको देखने को मिलेगी। इसके अलावा सभी सेक्टर इंडेक्स ग्रीन में, सिर्फ एक फार्मा को छोड़ दें। हालांकि फार्मा में भी लोअर लेवल से अब थोड़ी सी बाइंग आपको दिखाई देगी। ये देखिए, जो सुबह नीचे जितना नीचे खुला था उसके मुकाबले तो काफी अच्छी रिकवरी आपको देखने को मिलेगी। लेकिन अगर आप इंडेक्स की बात करें, रियल एस्टेट, वैसे एक इंडिया टूरिज्म इंडेक्स है, वो हमारे पास शायद होगा नहीं, सबसे टॉप गेनर तो वही है, टूरिज्म इंडेक्स 4.5% ऊपर, रियल्टी 4.5% ऊपर, पावर इंडेक्स 4% ऊपर, मेटल इंडेक्स 4% ऊपर, आईटी 4.5% ऊपर, एनर्जी अक्रॉस द बोर्ड शानदार तेजी आपको देखने को मिलेगी। इंडेक्स स्टॉक्स की अगर बात करें तो टॉप गेनर इस समय अदानी एंटरप्राइजेस करीब करीब 7% ऊपर। लेकिन अगर मार्केट को सबसे ज्यादा सपोर्ट इस समय मिल रहा है वो है इन्फोसिस, 4% की तेजी के साथ इन्फोसिस आज का हमारा बिग स्टॉक इस समय टॉप कंट्रीब्यूटर्स में शामिल। रिलायंस में बहुत शानदार मजबूती, ये भी हेल्प कर रहा है मार्केट की। और अगर एफएनओ स्टॉक्स की बात करें तो एक सॉर्ट ऑफ बुफे लगा हुआ है इस समय, आप जो मर्जी पिक करना चाहें। उसको लीड कर रहा है इंटरग्लोब एविएशन 7% की तेजी के साथ, एस्कॉर्ट्स कुबोटा, हिंदुस्तान कॉपर, अदानी एंटरप्राइजेस, टीटागढ़ रेल, डीएलएफ, इरीडा, बीएससी, एमसीएक्स, ओरेकल, अक्रॉस द बोर्ड तेजी आपको देखने को मिलेगी। चलिए, अब हमारा पैनल हमारे साथ जुड़ा है, फ्रेश पर्सपेक्टिव लेकर अमित सेठ जुड़े हैं। अमित जी, गुड मॉर्निंग। बताइए क्या रहेंगे आपकी ट्रेड्स इस समय की?
जी, गुड मॉर्निंग अनुज जी, गुड मॉर्निंग वीरेन जी एंड एवरीबडी ऑन द पैनल। अनुज जी, पहले तो जय हिंद। एंड अनुज जी, मेरे आज के दो ट्रेड्स रहेंगे। पहला रहेगा कोफोर्ज। कोफोर्ज में एक हम स्ट्रॉन्ग ब्रेकआउट देख रहे हैं, पिछले 5 दिनों के हाईज के ऊपर निकल रहा है। ओवरऑल ये कंसोलिडेशन के बाद ये मूव आ रहा है, तो इसे बाय करें। स्टॉप लॉस हमारा रहेगा 7950 का, 7950 का, और हमारे टारगेट्स यहाँ रहेंगे 8250, 8250 के। मेरा दूसरा स्टॉक रहेगा रिलायंस। रिलायंस हैज बीन एन आउट परफॉर्मर। पिछले 3-4 दिनों में हम एक नॉर्मल प्रॉफिट बुकिंग पुल बैक देख रहे थे। रिवर्सल यहाँ पे अप ट्रेंड में आया है 10 डेमा से, तो इसे बाय करें। 1400 का स्टॉप लॉस रहेगा और टारगेट्स रहेंगे 1475 के।
ओके, रिलायंस, ये एक ट्रेड हो गई, और कोफोर्ज रिलायंस पे ट्रेड दी गई है, ध्यान रखिएगा। एक स्टैंडर्ड डिस्क्लेमर आपकी स्क्रीन पर फ्लैश होगा। आप चलिए, अब चलते हैं एक बार सचिन के पास। सचिन जी, गुड मॉर्निंग अगेन। आपकी दो ट्रेड इस समय की?
गुड मॉर्निंग अनुज जी। अनुज जी, मुझे लग रहा है यहाँ पर काफी सारे स्टॉक्स है जहाँ पर मोमेंटम स्ट्रांग है, बट यहाँ पर एक अच्छा रिवर्सल नजर आ रहा है काफी सारे सीमेंट स्टॉक्स में। एंड वहां पर नजर जा रही है ग्रासिम के फ्यूचर्स पे। जिस तरीके से यहाँ पर प्राइस डेवलपमेंट है, पिछले हफ्ते एक काफी कंट्रोल्ड फॉल यहाँ पर नजर आया था 2780 से लेके 2600 तक का। एंड जिस तरीके से इसने अपने प्रीवियस स्विंग हाई को निकाल दिया है, फ्राइडे के सेशन को पूरी तरह एंगल्फ कर दिया है, तो मुझे लग रहा है यहाँ पर एक काफी अच्छी रिकवरी है। जिस तरीके से डेटा प्लेस्ड है, हो सकता है कि इस हफ्ते में ही 2800 2850 तक की एक स्विंग बने ग्रासिम में, तो यहाँ पर खरीदारी करने की सलाह होगी। ग्रासिम के फ्यूचर्स में स्टॉप लॉस आपको यहाँ से लगभग अराउंड 2700 पे लगाना है। पहला टारगेट होगा अराउंड 2800 का, सेकंड टारगेट होगा अराउंड 2850 का। जो सेकंड स्टॉक मेरे रेडार पे है वो है पूना वाला फिनकॉप। एंड यहाँ पर भी जिस तरीके से एक फ्लैग फॉर्मेशन है, मुझे लग रहा है वहां पर एक एक अच्छा वर्टिकल रैली अनफोल्ड होनी चाहिए। डेटा इंडिकेट कर रहा है कि 400 का हर्डल यहाँ से पार हो जाना चाहिए, 440 का एक पोजिशनल टारगेट होगा। स्टॉप लॉस आपको यहाँ से लगभग अराउंड 376 पे लगाना है ऑन अ डेली क्लोजिंग बेसिस, एंड पोजीशंस को रिव्यू करना है 405 से लेके 440 के जोन में।
ओके, पूरा वाला फिनकॉप आपकी बाय कॉल। मेजर शॉर्ट कवरिंग आपकी स्क्रीन पे। अधिकतर स्टॉक्स में आप जरा प्लीज चेंज इन ओआई को देखिए, नीचे जो नजर आ रहा है 25 लाख शेयर, 14% मेजर शॉर्ट कवरिंग यहाँ पर। जतिन, गुड मॉर्निंग। आपके दो ट्रेड्स इस वक्त के?
गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन। तो हमारे जो दो ट्रेड्स होंगे वो लॉन्ग साइड की तरफ के होंगे। जो पहला ट्रेड होगा वो बिरला सॉफ्ट में होगा। पैटर्न वाइज एक बुलिश फ्लैग पैटर्न में से ब्रेकआउट आया है। हमें लगता है कि आगे जाके शॉर्ट कवरिंग देखने को मिल सकती है बिरला सॉफ्ट में। 398 के स्टॉप लॉस के साथ लॉन्ग करने की सलाह रहेगी। 435 के टारगेट्स के लिए। दूसरा रिकमेंडेशन जो होगा वो प्राइवेट सेक्टर बैंक में से एक्सिस बैंक में होगा। तो 3 वीक का एक कंसोलिडेशन है, 20 डे के एवरेज पे आके एक फ्रेश स्विंग जनरेट कर रहा है। हमें लगता है कि नेक्स्ट लेग ऑफ द अपमूव स्टार्ट हो चुका है। तो एक्सिस बैंक लॉन्ग करने की सलाह रहेगी। 1255 का टारगेट रहेगा और 1180 का स्टॉप लॉस रखना होगा।
ओके, एक्सिस बैंक 1197 पे सुबह से कम नहीं तो 2-3 बार एक्सिस बैंक अपीयर हो चुका है आज की कॉल्स में से, तो एक स्ट्रॉन्ग मोमेंटम जनरेट करता हुआ यहाँ पे इस वक्त एक्सिस बैंक। राजेश जी, आपके 2 ट्रेड्स इस वक्त के?
वीरेन जी देखिए, एक थोड़ा सा अपडेट देता हूँ। सुबह इन्फोसिस हमने दिया था, जो टारगेट था 1560 का था, तो वो अचीव हुआ, लेकिन मुझे अभी भी लगता है इन्फोसिस चलेगा। रादर मुझे लगता है आईटी लीड करेगा, और इसलिए मेरा जो पहला पिक रहेगा, रादर दोनों पिक रहेंगे वो आईटी से रहेंगे। सायंट मेरा पहला पिक रहेगा। मुझे लगता है सायंट में एक करेक्शन हो चुका है, 10-20 डे में के ऊपर आया है, और जिस तरह से थोड़ा सा बुल ट्रैप बेयर ट्रैप सिचुएशन है, तो टारगेट होगा करीबन 1270 का, स्टॉप लॉस होगा 1200 का। सेकंड पिक थोड़ा कॉन्ट्रा बाय रहेगा, दैट इज टाटा टेक्नोलॉजीज। बेहतरीन चार्ट है और बेहतरीन लेवल पे मिल रहा है, रिस्क टू रिवॉर्ड बढ़िया है। 678 का स्टॉप लॉस रखे, 710 का टारगेट।
ओके, चलिए, तो ये इस समय कुछ ट्रेड्स आपके लिए। एक तो ट्रेड्स और लेते हैं, उसके बाद हमारे साथ एक और खास मेहमान जुड़ने वाले हैं, उनसे बात होगी। एक बार आप जरा लेकर आइए चार्ट एस्कॉर्ट्स कुबोटा का। आई थिंक मैं क्यों इस स्टॉक को फोकस कर रहा हूँ, अब तक हमने सिर्फ बात की है वॉर खत्म होने की, ट्रेड डील की। इस पूरे बीच में जो हमारे डोमेस्टिक क्यूज इतने शानदार बन रहे थे, मॉनसून एक बड़ा ट्रिगर था, उसका एक इम्पैक्ट हो, चाहे आप टैक्स कट वगैरह का इम्पैक्ट हो, यहाँ पर मुझे लग रहा है मार्केट ने फाइनली अब एक डोमेस्टिक स्टॉक्स पर भी शायद एक थोड़ा सा फोकस करने की कोशिश की है। तो इसके लिए यहाँ पर एक आपको अच्छा मूव इस समय दिखाई देगा। आप इस पर चलिए काम करते हैं। ट्रेड तो क्या ही लेंगे इस पर, अब काफ़ी ऑलरेडी 7% ऊपर है, लेकिन मार्केट को जिस तरह से हर मोर्चे पर राहत मिली है, सबसे बड़ी तो ऑब्वियसली भारत पाक का जो सीज फायर हुआ, युद्ध विराम, वो एक सबसे बड़ा पॉजिटिव था। उसके अलावा और भी पॉजिटिव हैं। यूएस चाइना की ट्रेड डील हुई, और ये भी एक बड़ा पॉजिटिव है। इन सब पर बातचीत करने के लिए हमारे साथ हीलियोस इंडिया के सीईओ दिनशो ईरानी जुड़े हैं। इनसे बात करते हैं। दिनशो जी, गुड मॉर्निंग। क्या लग रहा है मार्केट अब सब कुछ ठीक? क्या मार्केट वापस ऑल टाइम हाई की तरफ बढ़ेगा, या फिर अभी थोड़ा सा इन लेवल्स पर थोड़ा प्रॉफिट बुकिंग में बेटर रहेगा? क्या आपका व्यू रहेगा?
अरुण जी, पहले तो धन्यवाद आपका, आपके शो पर आमंत्रित करने के लिए, और आपके दर्शकों को वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग। सो अनु जी, एक्चुअली जो सबसे बड़ा पहले कंसर्न था जो अप्रैल 2 को उभर के आया था, वो था ट्रेड वॉर, जो ट्रेड टैरिफ्स अप्लाई किए थे, और वो लग रहा है अभी रिवर्स हो रहे हैं। इनफैक्ट आपको याद होगा आपके लास्ट या एक आध प्रोग्राम पहले मैंने बोला ही था कि सबसे बड़ी डील होगी चाइना और यूएस की, और कल रात को आज सुबह रादर जो हमने वहां से रिलीज देखा है, वो काफी एक एनकरेजिंग रिलीज है कि चाइना और यूएस के बीच में एक टैरिफ एग्रीमेंट हो रहा है। ऑलरेडी मुझे तो लग रहा है कि वहां पे जो हम जो पहले सोच रहे थे कि 120-25 टका जो ड्यूटी लगा के रखे थे, ऑलरेडी कम करके 80 कर दिया, और अभी प्रपोजल है कि 40 के आसपास आ जाएगी। तो दैट विल बी वेरी पैलेटेबल, मतलब वो एक एक्सेप्टेबल भी रहेगा, 25 से 30 से 40 के बीच में जो ड्यूटी होगी वो। और दूसरा जो मेजर जो हमें सेटबैक मिला था बीच में, टैरिफ तो चल ही रहा था, वो जैसे आपने बोला कि इंडिया पाकिस्तान वॉर नहीं, मतलब जो झड़प हुई थी, वो एक तरह से युद्ध विराम जो डिक्लेयर हुआ वीकेंड पे, वो एक बहुत बड़ा रिलीफ है, क्योंकि उसके चलते अभी आप आगे चल के आप अभी फंडामेंटल्स का सोच सकते हैं। तो अभी आप देखें, फंडामेंटली देखें अगर जो बाजार को, तो जो आज की तारीख में हमारा जो रैली आई है, आज की रैली इंक्लूडेड 2-2.5% की जो रैली है उसको इंक्लूडेड आप देखें तो निफ्टी 50 ईयर टू डेट सिर्फ 4% चला है। तो उसके हिसाब से हमें ये लगता है कि ठीक है, अभी जो होना था वो हो गया, लेकिन आगे चल के जो फंडामेंटल्स हैं वो इतने आपको एक्साइटिंग नहीं दिख रहे। जो मार्च के क्वार्टर्स के नंबर्स हैं वो इतने एक्साइटिंग नहीं दिख रहे, तो इसलिए आपको काफी सिलेक्टिव रहना पड़ेगा आपको यहाँ पे, और उन्हीं सेक्टरों में जहां पे आपको ग्रोथ दिख रहा है। एक तो हमें जैसे डोमेस्टिक रिलेटेड सेक्टर्स है, वहां पे आई थिंक एक रिलीफ जो आया है कि कंजम्पशन में ऑलरेडी आरबीआई ने काफी मूव किए हैं तो उससे हमें लग रहा है कि वहां पे एक जो डोमेस्टिक रिलेटेड सेक्टर्स है वहां पे काफी अच्छा ग्रोथ मिल सकता है आपको। पॉकेट्स में आपको प्रॉफिट बुक करना पड़ेगा और सर्टेन पॉकेट्स अभी भी हमें अच्छे लगे।
तो कौन सी पॉकेट्स में सबसे ज्यादा बुलिश हैं आप? सबसे ज्यादा इंक्रीमेंटल एडिशन कहाँ कर रहे हैं?
जी देखिए, हम तो वैसे बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज वो हमें पहले से ही बहुत पसंद है, और उल्टा ये एक रिलीफ आने के बाद जो युद्ध विराम होर्स के बाद तो हमें लग रहा है कि वो सेक्टर बहुत ही अच्छा करेगा। आरबीआई का भी नजर उस पे ही है, क्योंकि उसी को लेके डिमांड ग्रोथ हो सकता है। जैसी लिक्विडिटी इन्फ्यूजन होगी तभी आपकी डिमांड ग्रोथ आएगी। ऑलरेडी एक रिलीफ मिल चुका है इन टर्म्स ऑफ टैक्सेस, तो वो तो एक पेल्पेबल डिमांड ग्रोथ की तरफ पॉइंट कर सकती है। और दूसरा जो अभी पे कमीशन डिसाइड होने वाला है वहां पे भी एक अच्छी मूव आ सकती है। तो इसलिए हमें लग रहा है कि बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज काफी हद तक एक एडवांटेज पे है, और वो हमें काफी पसंद है यहाँ पे। और दूसरा टूरिज्म सेक्टर, अगेन हमारे पास जो लार्जेस्ट एयरलाइन है कंट्री की वो है हमारे पास, होटल्स है सारे हमारे पास। तो हमें लग रहा है कि वहां पे एक जो ये रिलीफ आया है युद्ध विराम का, उसको लेके और भी अच्छा ग्रोथ आ सकता है। तो इसलिए हमें ये सब सेक्टर काफी पसंद है।
दिनशा जी, गुड मॉर्निंग, वीरेंद्र बोल रहा हूँ, और आपने तो मेरा अगला प्रश्न ही छीन लिया। एविएशन, ट्रेवल्स एंड टूरिज्म कुछ पूछने के बाद, मतलब आपका कन्विक्शन ये लोअर लेवल्स पे कुछ ऐड किया था आपने? अच्छा, एक और चीज मैं आपसे और पूछना चाहूंगा, थोड़ा सा इस बास्केट से अगर हम बाहर निकलें, ये तो खैर आपने इसका कन्विक्शन जाहिर कर ही दिया, एक दो पॉकेट्स और जो स्क्रीन पे इस वक्त विजिबल हैं, स्ट्रेंथ दिखा रही हैं, उसमें रियल स्टेट आ रहा है, उसमें फिर एचएफसीज में मूव आ रहा है, ये आपको कुछ अच्छा लग रहा है इसमें, या फिर इसको आपने अवॉइड किया हुआ है इस वक्त?
जी देखिए वीरू जी, एक्चुअली जो रेट कट होता है जो काफी मुमकिन है। अब यूएस अलग है, इंडिया का स्टोरी अलग है, क्योंकि हमारा इन्फ्लेशन का इशू नहीं है अभी, ये सब हो गया तो इसलिए मुझे लगता है रेट कट एक जायज है, और उसमें आपके सारे रेट सेंसिटिव्स, और रियल एस्टेट सबसे बड़ा रेट सेंसिटिव होता है, तो वो तो मुझे लगता है कि एक बेनिफिशियरी है ही है। लेकिन वहां पे भी जैसे हमें लग रहा है कि जो डिमांड आ रहा है वो ओनली हाई टिकट्स में आ रहा है। आपके जो एंट्री लेवल जो रियल एस्टेट है वहां पे इतना बढ़िया नहीं हो रहा है, तो इसलिए वो थोड़ा संभल के रहना पड़ेगा आपको। लेकिन 12 जो एचएफसीज आपने बोले, वो लगता है हमें बेटर प्लेस्ड है टू कैप्चर दिस ग्रोथ, क्योंकि वहां पे रिटेल का भी पुश आ जाता है वगैरह, तो इसलिए वहां पे हमें ज्यादा कंफर्ट है देन प्योर रियल एस्टेट।
और जो फार्मा में इतने स्केप्टिकल वॉइसेस आ रहे हैं, मतलब जो आपको परेशान कर रहे हैं टैरिफ का, अगला अगर आप देखें जो टारगेट फार्मा है स्पेशली, और लास्ट टाइम तो यूएस एफडीए को लेकर भी उन्होंने टिप्पणी की थी कि प्लीज आप थोड़ा सा जो अपने आई थिंक टेस्ट हैं और आई थिंक जो स्कैनिंग है साइट्स की, जितनी भी फार्मा साइट्स उसकी, वो थोड़ा सा उसको दुरुस्त कीजिए। ट्रंप ने ये भी कहा था। फार्मा को लेकर थोड़ा अनकंफर्टेबल है अभी आप?
जी बिल्कुल नहीं, आई थिंक फार्मा सबसे बड़ी अनसर्टेनिटी है। इनफैक्ट जो कल मतलब आज सुबह का जो ट्वीट था ट्रम्प जी का अबाउट कि आपके जो ब्रांडेड फार्मास्यूटिकल्स है यूएस में इतने एक्सपेंसिव क्यों है एज कम्पेयर टू अदर कंट्रीज, आई थिंक प्राइस पैरिटी होनी चाहिए वगैरह। वहां पे इतनी सारी अनसर्टेनिटी आ गई है वीरू जी, तो हमें बिल्कुल कंफर्ट नहीं आ रहा वहां पे। स्पेशली जो यूएस फेसिंग फार्मा कंपनीज है उनपे तो बिल्कुल नहीं आ रहा है, क्योंकि एक टारगेट है उनका, और उन्होंने लिखा था कि couple of $1 trillion will be saved by consumers। मतलब उनको काफी कन्विक्शन है वहां पे कि अगर जो एक पैरिटी है, और उसमें कोई क्लैरिटी भी नहीं थी कि वेदर इट वाज ब्रांडेड जनरल, मतलब ब्रांडेड प्रिस्क्रिप्शन ड्रग्स लिखा था उन्होंने, प्रिस्क्रिप्शन ड्रग्स लिखा था सॉरी, तो वेदर इट विल बी ओनली जो पेटेंटेड है उनके ऊपर है अटैक, कि जो ब्रांडेड जेनरिक्स है उनके ऊपर अटैक है। तो इसलिए वो अनसर्टनिटी में बाजार को वैसे भी वो पसंद नहीं होता, इसलिए हमें भी बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं है, और हम सब किसी क्लैरिटी की वेट करेंगे बिफोर टेकिंग अ कॉल हियर। और बहरहाल एनीवे आप देखिए, आई डोंट थिंक वैल्यूएशंस आल्सो दैट एक्साइटिंग वहां पे, तो इसलिए दूर रहे तो बेटर।
दूर रहे तो बेटर है इस समय। आप काफी पॉजिटिव रहे हैं ट्रैवल एंड टूरिज्म स्पेस पर, हालांकि इसमें काफी कम लिस्टेड स्टॉक्स हैं, इनमें टॉप अप करने का टाइम है क्या ये?
जी मैं ये नहीं बोलूंगा टॉप अप करने का टाइम है कि नहीं, लेकिन हम हमेशा अपॉर्चुनिटी देखते रहते हैं यहाँ पे कि ऐड करते रहे हमारे पोर्टफोलियो को। और एक्चुअली जो फ्रेश पैसा आता है वो हम प्रोपोर्शनली ऐड करते हैं, तो यहाँ पे ऐड हो ही जाता है वैसे हमारे से, और उल्टा वेट इंक्रीज ही किया हमने जो रिसेंट जो फॉल हुआ उसमें। इसलिए हमें लग रहा है कि आप एक दूसरी तरीके से देखें, नजरिए से देखें अनुज जी, तो ऐसा है कि क्वालिटी रूम्स इंडिया में काफी हद तक लिमिटेड है, और एक्चुअली डोमेस्टिक टूरिज्म जो पहले लैग करता था इंटरनेशनल टूरिज्म को, वो भी पिकअप होने लगा है। और डोमेस्टिक टूरिज्म फॉर्चुनेटली वो नहीं है बिल्कुल, आपका डिस्काउंट टूरिज्म नहीं है, इकोनॉमिक टूरिज्म नहीं है। डोमेस्टिक टूरिज्म ऑल्सो आजकल बिल्कुल क्वालिटी रूम देखते हैं। इनफैक्ट आप होटलों में जाएं तो आपको शायद ही कोई इंटरनेशनल टूरिस्ट दिखे, ज्यादातर आपको डोमेस्टिक ही दिखते हैं। तो इट्स ऑब्वियस कि यहाँ पे डिमांड पिकअप जो हुआ है उसके सैशिएट करने के लिए, उसको मीट करने के लिए मुझे लगता नहीं है कि इतने क्वालिटी रूम्स है। इसलिए हमें लग रहा है कि ये जो आपको जो ग्रोथ दिख रहा है आरपूज वगैरह में यहाँ पे, वो हमेशा जारी रहेगा, चलता रहेगा। सॉरी आरपॉब्स में वो हमेशा चलता रहेगा यहाँ पे। इसलिए हमें बिल्कुल बहुत ज्यादा कंफर्ट है यहाँ पे। एनीवे आई लीव इट टू द अदर्स टू डिसाइड क्या करना है।
अच्छा दिनशॉ जी, आपने कोई ड्रोन मैन्युफैक्चरर पिक किया है क्या पिछले 10 दिन में?
सॉरी वीरू जी, आई मिस्ड आउट। कौन सा मैन्युफैक्चरर? डिफेंस मैन्युफैक्चरर।
डिफेंस में ड्रोन मैन्युफैक्चरर्स, क्या भूमिका रही ड्रोन्स की इस पूरे 5 दिन में 6 दिन में, वो आपने देखा भी? आपका व्यू इस पर?
एक्चुअली वीरू जी, अनफॉर्चुनेटली जो प्योर मैन्युफैक्चरर है वो हमें बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं है, जो ड्रोन मैन्युफैक्चरर है वो, क्योंकि वहाँ पे काफी इश्यूज है, फंडामेंटल भी है। उनका भी रिजल्ट भी आया था और वैसे। और दूसरा जो आप डिफेंस कंपनी की बात करें तो हमें ज्यादातर इलेक्ट्रिकल, क्योंकि ये सारों में इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स जाते हैं ड्रोन्स वगैरह में, तो इसलिए हमें इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वाले जो हैं वो ज्यादा पसंद है यहाँ पे। जैसे भारत इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स हो गया हमारा, हमें काफी पसंद है ये यहाँ पे। और बाकी जो हैं वो काफी लिमिटेड है और उनका स्कोप भी काफी लिमिटेड है, इसलिए हमें इतना ज्यादा पसंद नहीं है हमारे लिए।
ओके, चलिए, तो ये कुछ थीम्स इस समय कोई फ्रेश एडिशन आपने किया हो रिसेंटली जिसके बारे में बता सकें, या किसी स्टॉक में अगर आपने फ्रेश पोजीशन ऐड की हो?
जी एक्चुअली अनुज जी, जो फ्रेश तो नहीं है लेकिन हमने कंपोनेंट मैन्युफैक्चरर्स आइडेंटिफाई किए थे जो हमें पसंद है, जो हमें लगता है कि चाइना प्लस वन काफी हद तक खेल सकते हैं, तो इसलिए हमें वहां पे एडिशन किए थे। जैसे ये टैरिफ वॉर चालू हुई थी तो हमें लगा कि शायद वहां पे एक हमें दिख सके। दूसरा जो टेक्सटाइल थे, जो क्लियर विनर है, मतलब जो एक्सपोर्टर्स है टेक्सटाइल के, वो हमने ऐड किए हैं यहाँ पे। और हमें भी यहाँ पे यही लग रहा है कि वो भी एक क्लियर विनर है, नॉट ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ चाइना प्लस वन बट ऑल्सो जो बांग्लादेश में हुआ वगैरह उसके चलते आई थिंक वहां पे हमें ज्यादा कंफर्ट है। इसलिए ये दो जो सेक्टर थे हमने ऐड किए ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम।
दिनशॉ जी, एक चीज है, आई मीन ये जो चाइना और यूएस की ट्रेड डील जो है वो लॉक हो जाती है अगर, और जो लग भी रहा है, उसके बाद आप हमारा जो ईएमएस सेगमेंट है उसको कैसे ट्रीट करेंगे? आई मीन डिक्सन इस बार बड़ा मूवर था, उसको एडवांटेज हमने पिछले 30 दिन में दिया भी था। इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेगमेंट को आप कैसे देखते हैं इस वक्त इस न्यूज़ फ्लो के साथ?
जी वीरू जी, एक्चुअली जो एंड प्रोड्यूसर है, मतलब जो एक्चुअल कंपोनेंट जो मैन्युफैक्चर करता है, आई थिंक उसको ज्यादा एडवांटेज होगा देन एक्चुअल मैन्युफैक्चरर ऑफ द एंड प्रोडक्ट, कंज्यूमर प्रोडक्ट। तो इसलिए आप जैसे हम यही बोलते हैं कि आप मार्जिन देख लीजिए। जो हमारे सबसे बड़े मैन्युफैक्चरर है, जो एक्सपोर्टर है हमारे, जो मिनी फॉक्सकॉन जिसको बुलाते हैं, डिक्सन जो है, कितने कम मार्जिन पे काम होता है वहां पे। इसलिए क्योंकि वो ज्यादातर जो कंपोनेंट्स है वो आउटसोर्स करते हैं, इनसोर्स करते हैं और उनको जस्ट असेंबल करके पास ऑन कर देते हैं। इसलिए हमें ये ज्यादा पसंद नहीं है, रादर हमें कंपोनेंट्स वाले ज्यादा पसंद है। तो हमें लग रहा है कि वहां पे आप ज्यादा कैपिटलाइज कर सकते हैं।
दिनशॉ जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, आप इस कार्यक्रम में शामिल हुए, सभी सेक्टर्स पे स्टॉक्स पे अपनी टिप्पणियां रखी आपने, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। अब चलते हैं यहाँ से अगले चरण में, थोड़ा टेक्निकल पर्सपेक्टिव से बातचीत करते हैं। श्रीकांत चौहान कोटक सिक्योरिटीज जुड़ चुके हैं। श्रीकांत, गुड मॉर्निंग, कार्यक्रम में स्वागत है आपका। 700 पॉइंट प्लस, और वो मेरे ख्याल से जो वो 24,500 के बाद प्रोजेक्शन मिल रहा था 24,800 का, जिस पे आप बात भी कर रहे थे, वो ऑलमोस्ट अचीव हो गया। क्या इस बड़े प्राइस के बाद आपको निफ्टी फर्दर स्ट्रेच टुवर्ड्स 25,000, 25,200 लग रहा है, या फिर आपको लगता है कि एक कंसोलिडेशन इंडेक्स में इस प्राइस पे पॉसिबल है?
गुड मॉर्निंग वीरेंद्र, गुड मॉर्निंग अनुज। नहीं, बिल्कुल लगता है मुझे कि हम 25,000 तक तो बिल्कुल जाएंगे, क्योंकि 24,500 और 24,000 के रेंज में जो मार्केट ने वक्त निकाला था और जो रेजिलिएंट एक्टिविटी हमने देखी थी, यानी इतने बड़े न्यूज फ्लो के बाद भी आपने देखा होगा कि फ्राइडे के दिन मार्केट ने 24,900 950 के लेवल्स को काफी कॉन्फिडेंटली चेस किया और हमारी जो क्लोजिंग थी वो 24,000 के ऊपर की थी। ऐसे मार्केट्स तभी देखने मिलते हैं जब मार्केट्स या तो लाइट होते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ पोजीशंस या तो उस मार्केट में कुछ अलग लेवल का कॉन्फिडेंस होता है। और आज भी हमने वही देखा कि 24,500 के ऊपर मार्केट में तेजी बन रही है। कई सारे लार्ज कैप स्टॉक्स काफी अच्छे परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं, स्पेशली आईसीआईसीआई बैंक, रिलायंस जैसे स्टॉक। तो मुझे लगता है डेफिनेटली हम 25,000 जाएंगे। मैं तो कहूंगा कि इनफैक्ट 25,500 भी हम लोग लेवल्स देख सकते हैं क्योंकि मार्केट काफी लाइट है इन टर्म्स ऑफ एडिंग पोजीशंस। आज भी आप देखिए तो 24,500 के ऊपर जो पोजीशंस ऐड हो रही है, मुझे नहीं लगता कि कोई बड़े लेवल पे ट्रेडर्स के तरफ से पोजीशंस ऐड हो रही है। ये जो भी पोजीशंस ऐड हो रही है इन टर्म्स ऑफ आइदर आई कैन से शॉर्ट कवरिंग हो रही है या तो फिर मैं कहूंगा कि बहुत ही स्पेसिफिक बाइंग है, मे बी फ्रॉम एफआईआईज।
श्रीकांत, गुड मॉर्निंग। आपकी इस समय की स्टॉक ट्रेड्स क्या होंगी?
गुड मॉर्निंग अनुज। तो जैसे कि लग रहा है कि इंडेक्स ही 25,000 या 25,200 जैसे भी आपने वीरेंद्र ने भी कहा, मुझे भी लगता है कि अगर ऐसे लेवल्स अगर दिखते हैं काफी क्लियरली ऑन टेक्निकल्स तो इन लेवल्स पे या तो इधर से कोई भी करेक्शन अगर आता है, बिकॉज थोड़ी सी वॉलेटिलिटी तो मार्केट में बनी रहेगी, बट स्पेसिफिकली इन लेवल्स पे रिलायंस इंडस्ट्रीज मुझे लगता है कि इसे खरीद के चलना चाहिए। यहाँ से हमें लगता है कि 1425 में जो ये जो स्टॉक ट्रेड कर रहा है, ये 1480 से लेकर 1500 तक के लेवल्स दिखा सकता है। तो काफी अच्छा एक रिलेटिव परफॉर्मेंस हमें रिलायंस इंडस्ट्रीज से देखने मिल सकता है। और साथ ही साथ मुझे लगता है कि थोड़ी सी बाइंग इंडिगो में भी आ सकती है यहाँ से, क्योंकि जो इतने दिनों से एक प्रॉफिट बुकिंग चल रही थी या तो जो स्टॉक अंडर परफॉर्म कर रहा था, यहाँ पे भी हमें लगता है परफॉर्मेंस आ सकता है और शायद ये स्टॉक 6,000 6,200 के लेवल्स दिखा सकता है। तो कॉन्फिडेंटली इन लेवल्स पे ये दो स्टॉक्स में खरीदने की हमारी राय रहेगी।
लग रहा है कहीं की यात्रा आपने स्थगित कर दी थी, दोबारा मन बनाया है यात्रा का, है श्रीकांत जी?
बिल्कुल,
ऐसा तो कुछ
जैसे
नहीं
वो कोविड के टाइम हुआ था वैसे ही होने वाला है। रिवेंज ट्रैवल, रिवेंज टूरिज्म। यस।
हाँ, अच्छा, एक दो स्टॉक्स पर आते हैं जहां पे आज अच्छे मूव्स नजर आ रहे हैं। आप देखिए एक बार स्क्रीन पे प्लीज लेके आइएगा। आप आईएक्स मूव स्ट्रॉन्ग 165 डे हाई पर आके ट्रेड करता हुआ जो लोअर ट्रैजेक्टरी से बाहर निकले, आरईसी को लेके आइए आप, फिर आप लेके आइए प्लीज एक बार एंजल वन लोअर ट्रैजेक्टरी से बाहर निकलता हुआ। मैं कुछ इस तरीके के स्टॉक्स पूछना चाह रहा था आपसे श्रीकांत, जहां पे शॉर्ट कवरिंग ड्यू है, जहां पे शॉर्ट कवरिंग पॉसिबली अप्रैल के सेकंड हाफ में आती लेकिन वो आ नहीं पाई जिस प्रकार से बाजार प्रेशर में रहा। कुछ अच्छे पॉसिबल शॉर्ट कवरिंग कैंडिडेट्स वो कौन से हैं?
नहीं, तो जैसे आपने कहा, मुझे लगता है कि कैपिटल मार्केट रिलेटेड स्टॉक्स जैसे कि एचडीएफसी, एएमसी है या तो मे बी एंजल है। इनफैक्ट वीरेंद्र, हमने इस बार पावर स्टॉक्स में काफी अच्छा मोमेंटम देखा था। और टाटा पावर अगर आप देखें तो टाटा पावर मल्टीपल टाइम्स 370 होता है, मल्टीपल टाइम्स 400 हो जाता है। ऐसे फॉर्मेशंस क्लियरली इंडिकेट करते हैं कि इवेंचुअली ये स्टॉक्स और भी हायर लेवल्स पे जा सकते हैं। साथ ही साथ अगर आप इंडेक्स के ओवरऑल वैल्यूएशंस को देखें तो अभी भी हम लोग रोलिंग फॉरवर्ड ईपी मल्टीपल्स के बेसिस पे देखें तो हम 1 डिविएशन प्लस चल रहे हैं। दैट मींस कि मिड कैप स्टॉक्स में और भी अट्रैक्शन आएगा, मे बी और भी पार्टिसिपेशन आएगा इन लेवल से, और हम इन्हीं स्टॉक्स में कुछ तेजी के मौके सर्च भी कर सकते हैं फॉर नेक्स्ट लेट्स से फ्यू वीक्स और फ्यू मंथ्स। सो थोड़ा सा पोजिशनल व्यू लेना है तो इन स्टॉक्स में लेना चाहिए। और आईईएक्स जैसे आपने कहा, मुझे लगता है ये भी स्टॉक एक कप विथ हैंडल जैसा फॉर्मेशन बना रहा है। अभी तक ब्रेकआउट हुआ नहीं है, लेकिन इसे वैलिडेट करने के लिए भी ये स्टॉक यहाँ से अगर रैली करता है तो हमें लगता है कि कम से कम हम वापस से 250 तक के लेवल्स देख सकते हैं। तो करंट लेवल से आईएक्स डेफिनेटली अच्छा लगता है। पीएफसी मुझे ज्यादा अच्छा लगता है एज कंपेयर टू आरईसी। मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम इसमें परफॉर्मेंस ज्यादा अच्छा देखने मिलता है और पीएफसी में भी मुझे लगता है कि ग्रेजुअली ये स्टॉक 410 420 के करीब जा सकता है। लेकिन स्पेसिफिकली मुझे लगता है कि इन लेवल्स पे अगर ध्यान रखना है तो आप एचडीएफसी, एएमसी, सीडीएसएल, कैम्स या एंजल वन ऐसे स्टॉक्स पे फोकस करना चाहिए, क्योंकि इनमें बीटा हाई है और वैल्यूएशन टर्म्स में भी अगर आप देखें तो काफी अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस हमें आने वाले दिनों में एक्सपेक्टेड है।
ओके, चलिए, ये समय आपके लिए कुछ ट्रेडिंग आइडियाज। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया श्रीकांत इन सब ट्रेड्स के लिए। इस शो को यहीं समेटेंगे, एक ब्रेक लेंगे, उसके बाद श्रेया और कंचन लेकर आएंगे आपके लिए ट्रेडर्स हॉटलाइन।
इनसाइट, नहीं छूटेगा कुछ भी, तैयारी होगी टाइट।
लोकल के साथ ग्लोबल मार्केट की चाल, मैं बताऊंगा दुनिया के बाजारों का हाल।
मार्केट की बड़ी एक्सक्लूसिव
भारत पाकिस्तान युद्ध विराम और अमेरिका चीन की ट्रेड डील से बाजार में तूफानी तेजी। निफ्टी करीब 700 तो बैंक निफ्टी 1600 पॉइंट दौड़ा। मिड कैप और स्मॉल कैप में भी जोरदार उछाल। वही डर का इंडेक्स इंडिया विक्स करीब 17% फिसला। मार्केट के दिग्गज एमके वेंचर्स के फाउंडर मधु केला ने हमसे खास बातचीत में कहा, मौजूदा स्तर से और बेहतर प्रदर्शन कर सकता है बाजार।
आज के बिग स्टॉक्स और स्पॉटलाइट पड़े सटीक। बिग स्टॉक्स में इन्फोसिस करीबन 4% भागा, तो वहीं अच्छे नतीजों और गाइडेंस से नवीन फ्लोरिन 52 हफ्तों की ऊंचाई पर पहुंचा। उधर स्पॉटलाइट शेयर एलएनटी और एलटीआई माइंट्री भी 3% मजबूत। सभी शेयर्स पर बुलिश नजरिए के साथ हुआ था सटीक एनालिसिस।
आईटी, रियल्टी, फाइनेंस, मेटल और कैपिटल गुड्स शेयरों में सबसे ज्यादा तेजी। चारों सेक्टर इंडेक्स 3 से 5% तक उछले। ऑटो, सरकारी बैंक और एफएमसीजी में भी रौनक। वहीं अमेरिका में ट्रंप के नए ऑर्डर के बाद दवाएं सस्ती होने की आशंका से चुनिंदा फार्मा शेयर में कमजोरी।
कैपिटल मार्केट से जुड़े शेयर्स में शानदार तेजी। बीएसई करीबन 6% चढ़कर इंट्राडे में पहली बार 7,000 रुपए के पार निकला। साथ ही एमसीएक्स और कैम्स में भी 5 से 6% का उछाल। उधर सीडीएसएल भी करीबन 5% भागा।
शानदार नतीजों से बिरला कॉर्प में 20% का अपर सर्किट। चौथी तिमाही के मुनाफे में करीब 33% का उछाल। साथ ही अच्छे रिजल्ट से डॉक्टर रेड्डीज का शेयर भी 3% ऊपर। उधर नतीजों के बाद एबीबी इंडिया करीब 4% भागा।
आज 12 बजे भारत और पाकिस्तान के डीजीएमओ की बातचीत। सेना बोली ऑपरेशन सिंदूर अभी भी जारी। पाकिस्तान ने सीज वायर तोड़ा तो देंगे करारा जवाब। कल रात बॉर्डर एरिया में दिखी शांति। इधर देश में 32 एयरपोर्ट के संचालन को फिर से मंजूरी मिली। नोटिस टू एयरमैन के आदेश वापस लिए गए।
नमस्कार, सीएनबीसी आवाज मोतीलाल ओसवाल लाइव स्टूडियो में आप सभी का स्वागत है। आप देख रहे हैं ट्रेडर्स हॉटलाइन। मैं हूं आपके साथ श्रेया ठाकुर। मेरे साथ मौजूद है मेरी सहयोगी कंचन नौटियाल और आज के मेहमान प्रकाश गाबर सर, जो अगले आधे घंटे आपके सवालों के जवाब देंगे। और बाजार की बात करें तो शानदार तेजी। भारतीय का मनोबल भी मजबूत। भारत बाजार देखिए, भारतीय बाजार भी इसमें भी तेजी, रौनक देखने को मिल रही है। चौतरफा खरीदारी और हो भी क्यों ना। देखिए कंचन, भारत ने ये साफ कर दिया है कि हर स्थिति में, हर संकट में, कैसी भी परिस्थिति हो, आतंकवाद को विराम लगाना ही है, जो कि देखने को मिला। और हर भारतीय सैनिकों के ने अपने शौर्य से ये सिद्ध किया कि आतंकवाद को विराम देंगे, हर परिस्थिति को चुनौती देंगे, जो कि होता हुआ दिखा। और सीज फायर के लिए आखिरकार पाकिस्तान को गिरगिराना ही पड़ा और हाथ जोड़ना ही पड़ा। लेकिन साफ कर दिया है भारत ने कि अगर सीज फायर तोड़ता है तो फिर उसका मुंह तोड़ जवाब झेलेगा पाकिस्तान। और इसी से मुझे खूनी हस्ताक्षर एक कविता है कंचन, उसकी 4 लाइनें याद आती हैं कि वो खून कहो किस मतलब का जिसमें उबाल का नाम नहीं। वो खून कहो किस मतलब का आ सके देश के काम नहीं। वो खून कहो किस मतलब का जिसमें जीवन न रवानी है। जो परवश होके बहता है वो खून नहीं है, पानी है। और हर भारत के रगों में, हर भारतीय के रगों में, हर सैनिक के रगों में खून दौड़ता है। ये पाकिस्तान ने देख लिया और पस्त पड़ा है पाकिस्तान, जिसका असर आज देखिए बाजार पे भी देखने को मिल रहा है। शानदार तेजी। गाबर सर, सुप्रभात, स्वागत है आपका सीएनबीसी आवाज पर और हमारे शो ट्रेडर्स हॉटलाइन पर। मार्केट में शानदार तेजी, अब यहाँ से नहीं रुकेगा बाजार, क्या लगता है आपको?
गुड मॉर्निंग, सुप्रभात। बिल्कुल आप दोनों को। और जो गैप अप से खुला है और उसके बाद सस्टेन किया है गैप, ये संकेत दे रहा है बेसिकली कि जो शॉर्ट्स है वो ट्रैप हो गए और वो स्क्वीज कर रहे हैं। शॉर्ट स्क्वीज इज टेकिंग मार्केट अप और उसके बाद फ्रेश बाइंग। ये दोनों ही जो फैक्टर्स हैं ये मार्केट को एक अप ले जाएगा। जो वॉर क्लाउड्स थे अब लगता है वो खत्म हो गए। मेरे ख्याल से आपको मिलना चाहिए। यस, गुड, अच्छी बात है।
तो मार्केट के अंदर एक अच्छी खासी रैली एविडेंटली हमें दिखाई दे रही है और जिस तरीके से अभी जियोपॉलिटिकल टेंशन हमें कूल ऑफ होती हुई दिखाई दी है उसका सीधा सीधा रिफ्लेक्शन हमें इंडियन मार्केट में भी देखने को मिल रहा है इस टाइम पे। चलिए अपना जो ट्रेडिशन है ट्रेडर्स हॉटलाइन का, यानी कि जितने भी हमारे दर्शक हैं उनको जोड़ा जाए, जितने भी सवाल है कोशिश करते हैं कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा सवाल लिए जाए, गाबा सर तक पहुंचाए जाए। सबसे पहले व्हाट्सएप नंबर स्क्रीन पे रखिए जिसके जरिए आप अपने सवाल हमारे तक भेज सकते हैं। इसके अलावा हमारे जो सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म्स है, श्रेया का अकाउंट, मेरा अकाउंट या सीएनबीसी आवाज को टैग।
What's your message to all the young Virat Kohlis watching this and young Jemima Rodriguez is watching this who'll take the country further?
You know, I'm so glad you used the second name. I think when I watch the women's league, it's like watching a new emerging kind of activity.
You know, Vikings would always invade with the women as well.
Okay, all right.
We need to be Vikings now.
You notice I'm not disputing it. So,
why are you doing this podcast?
You know, I'm doing this podcast, one, because I like you. Huh?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Jaishankar, the Minister of External Affairs on TRS. Possibly the most requested episode we've had in the longest time because we've done so much geopolitical content and this legend has come up so much on the show that we just had to bring him on TRS. Keep in mind, this is a very short episode. There was a time constraint because of schedules on that particular day. So I couldn't podcast exactly the way I wanted to with Dr. Jaishankar, but it's a beginning. You're going to see an incredible episode of TRS up ahead. Special thanks to MyGov India for making this happen. This is my mid-20s dream to talk to this man, considering how much he's done for the country, considering how he's rewritten the country's branding on a global stage. This was a great icebreaker with the legend. As I said earlier, I was a little nervous to speak to the cabinet ministers, but Dr. Jaishankar made me feel extremely comfortable. That's his actual real life vibe if you're a young, motivated Indian. And that's what this particular episode 1 with Dr. Jaishankar was about. It was about the young, the new, and the motivated India. I hope you enjoy this particular episode. I hope every single young Indian watches this episode because, to be honest, jokes apart, we're living through some intense times and we need to turn to people like Dr. Jaishankar for guidance about the future. So I'm going to let you slip into the episode. It is a slightly shorter episode. We will come back with a much longer one with Dr. Jaishankar. But for now, enjoy this legendary piece of TRS. Dr. Jaishankar, the most requested podcast possibly that we ever had. How are you and why do you think that is?
Oh, I'm good. Been a busy few weeks. But I would say probably people are more interested in foreign policy.
Nowadays.
And maybe they'll come to watch you. So...
I mean, geopolitics is one of those subjects that people have been lapping up only recently, but lapping it up heavily. And you're the poster boy for everything that's happening correct geopolitically for India.
Okay, that's good to know. But in a way, it's natural. Look, what do we do most of the time? You get up in the morning, first thing you do is reach out for your phone, right? And see what is it you missed when you're sleeping. Now, what it's done is it has connected us completely to the world.
Yep.
And because of the phone, and then you build everything around it, once you start getting used to global content and global comparisons, then, what you eat, what you read, what you think, everything becomes global.
Yeah.
So that's why they call it globalization.
Okay. Simple question for you. Who is Dr. S. Jaishankar, the man? Like that people don't know. I'll tell you why. Right now, you're very popular on shorts and reels for your very aggressive comebacks and your very aggressive responses. And in many ways, I feel like Virat Kohli and yourself are the faces of young India in some ways. This is how young India
There's a
thinks.
slight age difference between us.
No, but you're still the guy young India is like cheering for. When we see you up there talking to all these people from other countries, we're like, yep, that's the response that they should get.
Look, I'm a trained diplomat whose general SOP is, play it cool, sort of don't make too many waves, etc. Now, partly I've transitioned into being a political face, okay? But even I would say the diplomatic side of me, which is still very deep, after all, I've done it for 45 years, maybe more now. It's like this, I'm very nice to people who are nice to me. When I get pushed, I think it's natural to push back. And one of the things that has been happening to a bit is in the last year and a half, people have been pushing us a bit, So I feel, it's you brought up Virat Kohli cricket analogy, if you get a few bouncers, you want to do something with it, no?
Hit that pull shot.
Yeah.
Okay. When you say the sentence, when I get pushed, in many ways, your I get pushed is actually when India gets pushed.
Absolutely.
And you are the personification of India on a global scale. Keeping that in mind, I want to ask you why PM Modi said that you have adbhut thoughts.
No, he didn't exactly say adbhut. I think he said वो अंदरूनी कि उनको बहुत अनुभव है. Look, to be very frank, we had got off a plane. I was myself a little bit zonked getting off the plane. And he was talking about just outside to a group of supporters. And I guess, I didn't ask him after that, okay? I guess what he was really saying is, look, this guy has watched a lot of people come and go. So he's seen a lot. So maybe you should talk to him and ask him what's different.
What's your gauge?
Or what's different?
Yeah, about you.
No, I don't think it was so much what he was talking about me. He was actually saying that, look, guys, talk to him because he will tell you how much, the prime minister's visits have changed, how much foreign policy has changed, how much the country has changed. So it was more it was my thoughts rather than me as a subject that he was talking about. That's my take of it.
I think it's one and the same thing.
Whatever.
Okay. I had Ishant Sharma on the show yesterday.
Oh, really?
Cricketer.
Okay.
And he spoke about how after a certain point, because you've played so much cricket and you have so many experiences that you've had, your pattern recognition improves. Some people would call pattern recognition intuition or the sixth sense.
Mm-hmm.
I am 100% sure that even on a geopolitical scale, there is a role of your sixth sense.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Can you talk a little bit about this? Like a slightly higher level of pattern recognition, or even go one level higher than that? Is there like a spiritual aspect? I mean, I use that word cautiously.
No, look, what happens is this is partly experience, but it's partly also hard work. Any business, we are using a sports, but I would use it in my own line of work. You spend a lot of time reading other players, understanding their game, their play, how does it work, their mind games which they try on you. So you try to see patterns in other people, in other countries, in other other foreign ministries, etc. Just like you do in sports. So in that sense, there's something it's a competitive activity. So if you're going up against a competitor, and I am a very competitive person, okay? I mean, when you ask me that bit, I absolutely let you know. I mean, I try to work out as much of it in sports, but I still have a lot left over for my real business. So if you are a competitive person, all the time your sixth sense, as you call it, is working on your, one part I'm listening to you, but if I've seen you do this before, we've talked before, I've prepared by watching you or studying you before, the sixth sense takes over. So sometimes, when you are in a situation, people sometimes ask you saying, oh, did you think about that line before? I didn't. I mean, that sixth sense takes over at that time, because you already kind of, it's moving faster than your mind. And it's actually telling you, okay, they're going to hit you with this. So you're already processing it. So you see that coming at you before it actually comes at you. So I would say it's more like a instinct, right? You call it spirituality. I wouldn't go that far, but
sure.
There you have. But I just want to round off the earlier point. You asked me what did PM mean by that? What has changed? I think one part is we're really living under Prime Minister Modi in a different era. I mean, he has been in many ways personally transformational. He's churned the system in a very, very radical way. I mean, I joined the government when another Gujarati was a prime minister, Morarji Desai. Okay, so that's how far back I go. Huh? A lot of people, your listeners would be wondering, okay, what the hell is he even talking about?
No.
Huh?
You're still the poster boy of young India.
But look, it's not often you get people in any line of business, leave alone in something like running a nation. You can have the big thoughts, the strategic ideas, the grand vision. Huh? Very seriously, you have the revolutionary concepts that you chart out, okay, there's a different way of looking at a problem. That's one skill. And then you have going down to the details, saying, okay, this needs to be tweaked, that detail needs to be looked at, this problem needs to be fixed. Guys, you haven't done the backup on this. Usually, there are talented people, inspired people who get the big picture. There are people who are very grounded, who kind of go down, drill down. It's very rare to find it in one person. And that, I would say, to me, is a very singular quality of Prime Minister Modi.
Yeah.
And that makes it very, in a way, very interesting to work with him, but it makes it very challenging, because he can challenge you right up there. He can challenge you right down there,
What's your current challenge?
Look, the world's a tough place right now. We barely come out of this COVID thing. You had this Ukraine conflict, and all the consequences which came out of it, energy, food, inflation, fertilizer. If we had not handled it well, we actually, the Indian consumer today, the average person, you and me, it would have actually hit us in our pockets. We would have seen much higher inflation. We'd be paying much more for our oil than we are. So I'm actually looking at the world where everything is coming at me at the same time. There's a health issue coming at me. There's an energy issue coming at me. I have a set of border problems on the border areas with the Chinese. I have the pending, the old problem with the Pakistanis who, have been doing terrorism for so long. And at the same time, I'm growing. My people are traveling abroad. And for me, one big part is how, foreign policy is not a kind of a board game or an academic exercise. It actually affects every person. So in my own mind, it's like, how do I get this foreign policy for you personally, right? How do I secure you when you travel? How do I look after you when you get into problems? How do I make sure, if you're a student, that you can work on the side and support yourself? Or that, you don't have to wait for 2.5 years for a visa by a foreign embassy. So it's, as I said, I've also learned, it's the small things, it's the big things, you got to get them both right.
The one truth I've learned about geopolitics is that it's money oriented. If you have the money, it helps you geopolitically. Second truth I've learned is that, and this I've learned in the last 3 days speaking to the cabinet ministers,
all right,
is that the role of entrepreneurs is just do your own thing, create employment, increase the exports of the country, help the country become richer. Would you like to give the youth and especially entrepreneurs any other geopolitical advice when it comes to this? I don't want to use the phrase India versus China, but this whole scenario. How can we help?
No, I think you're smart not using that phrase India versus China for this reason. yes, we have issues with China, but that's not the only issue. I mean, we have to be fundamentally competitive. If I do not have the factories, if I do not have the as you say, the entrepreneurship, the businesses, the startup, the agriculture, the infrastructure, it's not just the Chinese. The rest of the world will also run over me. So, it is at the end of the day, there are roughly 200 nations in the world. Okay, maybe about 125, maybe much smaller. Okay, after that, once you start grading them, there will be a zone. Okay, there'll be a zone of countries who constantly compete with each other. They could even be friends. The US and Europe are friends. They compete like hell. Okay, so you'd have a Europe, you'd have an America, Russia, China. Then you add, maybe countries who are economically smaller than us, but they would compete in certain fields. So, I mean, say, for example, you have a Vietnam. Vietnam is a much smaller economy. But the fact is, Vietnam competes when it comes to certain kinds of investment. Okay. So the bottom line, I think what the young people need to know is that today, it is all about building strengths. That when you say make in India, when you say startup India, when you say Gati Shakti, nobody is going to manufacture in India if your infrastructure is lousy. Okay. So they need to see the smart ports, the good roads, the rapid movement of goods. Now, if you have to do all this, if you really need to create jobs, to me, at the end of the day, it's all about creating jobs and opportunities. There are many roads to it. Even foreign policy, I would say, especially foreign policy, is one road, which is our job is also to market India, to brand India, to make India a magnet so that the rest of the world says, okay, these are responsible guys, these are safe guys, let's go and do business. They're not going to steal your stuff.
Okay. Basically chase excellence, create employment.
Absolutely.
And as we move forward in this chase of individual excellence, you will achieve national excellence.
Absolutely. Okay? Absolutely.
In the sport of in the global sport of geopolitics.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well said.
When you meet one of our rival nations' foreign ministers, like we saw you doing the Namaste to Bilawal Bhutto, what is your interaction with him, which the news doesn't capture, which only podcasts can potentially capture? And what's your interaction like with, say, the Chinese foreign minister if you meet him?
Diplomacy is an art of detail in a way. Okay, there's a lot of nuance, body language, how you dress, what you say, how you look, how you hold your hands or don't hold your hands. So all of this counts. It depends on the person. It depends on the situation. It depends, the context,
national
the
relationship.
Yes, that also.
Okay.
So you try to use. It's a bit like a choreography. So you use that occasion to do the signaling. I could modulate it depending on that. So it would depend on the situation. So there are times and occasions. So I wouldn't say there's a single formula.
Okay. Very raw question for you.
Please.
So pardon me if I'm crossing a line.
No.
What's the most pissed off you've gotten at one of these meetings? I'm sure something would have been said that just irritated you as a human being. And what was your response? And you don't need to name, or you can name if you wish.
Rarely by personal things, because mostly I've learned to absorb it. I take it's par for the course for me. Okay.
So,
what happens is things do get under my skin, and I give you a recent example. I've spoken about it. I was actually landed, I forget, from Bangalore or something on a plane, and I saw this picture of this guy climbing up the Indian High Commission in London and trying to pull down a flag. So absolutely, it got under my skin. So, or if people, they try and score points, I personal points, I just shrug it. Okay, I put. But if I feel in some way the collective I, in some way is demeaned or attacked or something, yes, that's when I said, when I get pushed. Okay, I mean that I, as you rightly said, is not me the I, but I the India. But that sense that somewhere if you're not given the respect or you're not, if your people are condescending, or sometimes people ambush you.
Okay. And professionally, when do you feel the most alive? Like when do you feel that you were born to do exactly this?
That's a feeling which kind of grew on me over a period of time. Part of it was, I actually studied international relations, which is not that usual for people in diplomats. Now, I'm only the second foreign minister who's actually been a diplomat. Natwar Singh was the only other guy who'd been in that. So, in a sense, my studies, my first long profession, my current responsibility, and even I had a brief break in business. Even that was international. I was with the Tata Group, and they gave me a kind of role in international business. So I've been in that sense, that feeling that you're bound to do this, frankly, has grown a lot. And in a way, I also came from a household which was very international. I live international. I mean, my family relationships are international. I spend most of my time international. So I guess it's sort of in you.
Okay. But at this stage of your life, is there any moment?
Occasionally, I do give lifestyle advice to younger people. Rarely, mostly when they ask. Okay. I don't dispense otherwise. I tell people, look, if you really like doing something, you'll be very good at it. The problem with most of us is we end up doing things which are not necessarily what we want to do.
It's what we're told to do.
It's what we're told to do, or circumstances make you.
Sure.
Okay. So for me, look, I always liked reading about the world. I like listening to music of the world. I like eating global food.
Sometimes consuming YouTube podcasts.
It's been a mix of all of that. So that what you say, we are bound to do it. Yeah, sure. I mean, all of this gets into that. Yeah, it's a natural.
Okay, all right. Yeah. This is a question that comes from the engineer inside me. Are you following the AI revolution based on whatever's happening in the world? I'm sure you are. I mean, that was just an intro to the question. Okay, that's podcasting techniques. Let's talk a little bit about the role of AI. I would love for you to also give an input on the role of quantum computing because it's come up in geopolitical conversations.
Mm-hmm.
How do you look at it from your perspective? The future of technology. I don't know if you watch this show called Black Mirror.
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's about the technologies that are upcoming. And Yuval Noah Harari says that the stuff they've shown in Black Mirror is so realistic. It's either already happening or it's going to happen in 5 to 10 years.
Or it'll happen once you watch the show.
Possibly. Because science fiction determines where science goes. But do you follow whatever is happening in the world of engineering technology? And how do you look at it affecting our country, our foreign policy, etc., etc.?
I'm not an engineer. And I'll give you what I hope is like a common sense answer from my perspective. And I'll take you back actually to your first question.
Sure.
You asked me, do I watch patterns? Okay. Sure, I watch patterns. That's how I do my business. That's why I think I can be good at my business. Now, just imagine, I am humanly, because I have limited capabilities as a human being, I'm watching the patterns of 200 people who I deal with every day. Imagine if I could process the patterns of 200 million people. Okay. That's the world which you are talking about. That with each one of us, we are like a walking emitter of electronic patterns. Okay. What you download, what you say, what you listen to, what you buy, what you eat. You're creating, earlier on, there would have been a pattern, but you couldn't see it. Okay. Today, that pattern is organized. It has actually become a business. It has become politics. It has become strategy. It is actually, at the end of the day, this how do you sort of mega process patterns? And that then gives you a fantastic edge. So, imagine a Virat Kohli who has at his fingertips everything about everybody is ever going to be batting against. And That's a dream world, isn't it?
Be able to predict each delivery, each strategy. So maybe the way we should build out artificial intelligence as humans is we should develop an AI-based assistant for you. For you to be able to, that's
Don't worry, it'll happen.
Or is it already happening? You never know. Okay. How often do quantum computing conversations come up? Because it's come up on the show from a geopolitical perspective. The first country that cracks it will...
Right now, actually, if you ask me what's right on our plate, it's much more semiconductors. There's this whole chip war, which is going on. You can say a tech war, which is going on. So a lot of what we are doing today is about that. And it's about how do you actually prepare for an era where, sort of chips, you can say, is the new oil. And in fact, I was a week ago in Europe, and thereafter with the PM at the Quad in Japan. And a big part of those conversations were really about how countries cooperate to ensure what we call trusted collaboration, which is countries who have that faith in each other, who have similar systems. We use the word like-minded. These are normally market economies, democracies, how people with companies who follow company ethics and rules like we know. How do these countries really come together and create a kind of a supply chain? Now, here's the bit which I think particularly your younger listeners should look at. There was a time 10 years ago, well, maybe now 7, 8 years ago even, I used to go around telling people, saying, look, you need to open up your economy more, mobility. There's Indians who would be looking for opportunities to work, because we really started, especially under Prime Minister Modi, one thing he keeps dinning into us, think of the world as a global workplace. Okay, this is one regular message we get from him in every possible way.
As a global workplace?
Global workplace. That don't think, your work opportunities could be anywhere. Now, it's your job in foreign policy to open up those doors. Okay. Why should a talented Indian be restricted? Okay. Now, if you are going to work everywhere, and this doesn't have to be rocket science, okay? I mean, you have people working in merchant shipping and air crews, in blue-collar jobs, in professional jobs, as chartered accountant, any profession you take. How do you actually give a full kind of space for Indian talent to do its best? Now, coming back to this, I find because today we are moving into that tech competition or tech wars era, there's a huge demand today for trusted talent, for people who play by the rules, who understand how the international business systems work, skilled people, talented people. And these are the age group, we are looking at kind of below 35s. They are massively in demand in the world. And we just came out of Australia. We did a mobility agreement. The week before, I signed one with Austria. Austria, is not a country which you would immediately think of in terms of migration. Done it with Germany, with a number of European countries, and even with the US. Prime Minister is going to be going there next month. A lot of it is, look, how do we create the flows? Now, these kind of flows are going to be very different. It's, it's like the world. You are very familiar, perhaps more than me. Your habits change. People don't have to leave India anymore to work somewhere. The global workplace doesn't mean you shift your place. It just means your employer doesn't have to be in the same town or the same country, or the service you render doesn't have to be there. So that's the kind of world, we are getting prepared for. So for me, if you look at the tech space, the global workplace, the mobility, the semiconductor, the what called critical emerging technologies, this is really what is sucking up the oxygen.
When I was growing up in the 2000s and early 2010s, you'd often go for family functions where the families would encourage the kids to leave India. And that used to piss me off when I was a kid. Why do you want to leave your country? Let's do something for the country. Maybe that's just the cricket fan in me talking, but it led me in the right direction. More than half of all the engineering students with me in college left the country. A lot of them wish to come back. I want you to directly address those people who are on the fence about coming back. How do we reverse this brain drain problem? That's one part of the question. Two, please address the parents who still want their kids to leave the country. And please address the kids who want to leave the country for whatever reason.
Look, I would define the issue differently from you.
Sure.
If you define it as, brain drain, here's our country, there is abroad, why are you leaving? You're making it a kind of choice which you may not necessarily get the outcomes you want. Okay. I put it to you very differently. It's, the world's like a kind of a membrane. You can go in and out. And actually, that's what's going to happen. I've actually encountered a lot of people who do a job, go abroad, do a job, come back, go again abroad. The days when you said, oh, if I leave a foreign country and come back to India, oh my God, maybe I'll never go back again. Now that's no longer the case. So what you say, yeah, sure, maybe 10, 15 years ago, that's the way the world was. I think we need to today recognize that, there was a time when you said a short-term job is what is the employer's preference. For a lot of people today would actually say, okay, let me take this, but I'm not sure I'm going to commit my entire life to this. That's also happening. So the job is changing, the people are changing, mobility is changing, global economy is changing. I think you're going to see a lot of this up and down, movement. And people will also realize in many industries that actually you may get an opportunity in India, which may be better than an opportunity abroad.
Yeah. Sure. We have too many Indian Steve Wozniaks sitting in America right now who've studied, gained experiences of working in tech there. We have a lot of Steve Jobses in India who are looking for Wozniaks to come back here and build the kind of companies that we're seeing built out in Silicon Valley. So do you have anything to say about that? Is that correct thinking?
Look, I've been to Silicon Valley a few times. I see changes even in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley today is much more interested in the valleys of India. That's also happening. So it's not like escape to Silicon Valley and guys, now I found Nirvana.
Anymore.
Sure. I think you're seeing a lot of people, out there coming back. After all, look, even for people out there, when they now see, you take the example of Apple, okay. Why it's been an important event is it's had a very strong resonance at different levels. It's had a resonance in manufacturing. It's a kind of validation of an improved business atmosphere. It's also, by the way, a testament to the quality of people they find. Now, frankly, this wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. So it's a very good example. Look, I can always tell anybody, everything is much better 10 years. Now you'll say, okay, show me the proof. To me, that's a proof. When you actually have good global companies, and the other interesting thing is when you have Indian companies, the big ones, who are actually now saying, maybe I'm going to invest a bit more in India. I don't need to necessarily hedge by going out. So that too is a factor. So things are happening.
Okay. Why are you doing this podcast?
I'm doing this podcast, one, because I like you. But two, I'm also doing it because I feel today you need to get people to understand what we are about, what the government's about, what the world is about. And different people absorb differently. Okay. There's still people, the beauty with India is you have 20 different mediums spread over 200 years. All of them are still working. It's like having an old model that's also working, and the latest gizmo is also working. So today, Man Ki Baat also works. Okay, newspapers also work. But it's who you're talking to. Okay. So, This is a different set of people I'm talking to, a different generation of people I'm talking to.
I would love to believe that my podcast audience is the one that wants aggressive growth. It's the Virat Kohlis of the future of this country. I hope so. So considering that these are all extremely aggressive leaders, one last question for you on this chat, and I hope it's the first chat of many, many more chats that we have eventually. What's your message to all the young Virat Kohlis watching this and young Jemima Rodriguez watching this who will take the country further?
I'm so glad you used the second name because I actually this year got really, it's something which I've followed for some time, but I think when I watch the women's league and I find that's something which is also really, it's like watching a new emerging kind of activity. But
Vikings would always invade with the women as well.
Okay, all right.
We need to be Vikings now.
Okay.
Let's go on.
You notice I'm not disputing it. But look, my message would be different era, have self-belief. The kind of opportunities, the possibilities of this era are very different. I think today it's very important at one level. I spoke about thinking big and thinking kind of practical, deep detail. Similarly, I would say we need to look at the big choices we make, the national choices we make. We need to look at the personal choices we make. They're not divorced from each other. A good, sound national choice actually widens your personal choices. And look, anybody with age wants to be younger. Okay, it's a natural feeling. But truly, for someone who's today, say 20, there's a world waiting out them to happen. And I think it's the obligation of people like us to sort of open that up as much, to prepare it as much, to create that kind of favorable ground. And when maybe in the next chat we should do this. Actually, you look at Indian cricket and Indian diplomacy. I think there's a lot that they could learn from each other. That could be a subject in itself.
Wow. Okay. So many more tangential questions just related to that thought. One last question. There's also a lot of YouTubers, and I would like to say extremely early thought leaders. Maybe we are, because we do influence a large mass of people. What's your message for them? What role do we have for our country?
Look, I think today you honestly don't have to be experienced, which is another nice way of saying a little older, to lead. Leadership can come from a young person. Conversely, there are people who may be older who would relate to a young person precisely because they have that kind of confidence. I was very struck. I was reading something which PV Sindhu had written, and one of the points she made was, how is it that Narendra Modi is today a youth icon? Why is he a youth icon? It's a very interesting question. It's worth thinking about. So I think that's a good note to end this session. So I too look forward to another one at some stage. I've given you an idea today, but always open to your thoughts.
Dr. Jaishankar, honor of my life. That's all I will say. Thank you for everything you're doing. The whole I is India conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that secretly. The youth is obsessed with geopolitics nowadays. Thank you, sir. Means a lot. Looking forward to talking to you again. If I may be able to do so, I would like to fist bump you and say thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Learning from you every day. That was the episode for today, ladies and gentlemen. Big tick mark on my own career objective sheet. This is a legend. I just spoke to a legend. Trust me, it took time to sink in. Like, it was just a 45-minute conversation, and I know that the next time I meet him, it's going to be a 2-hour conversation. We're going to go much deeper. We're going to cover many more topics. I'm going to ask him a lot more questions that Abhijit Chavda, Rajiv Malhotra, Abhijit Iyer Mitra have raised in my mind, but that's for the next time. For now, I request you to share this episode as much as possible. More cabinet minister interviews are coming up. Thanks to MyGov India helping TRS crack these conversations. Please give me your feedback, ladies and gentlemen. I want to know what you thought of this conversation. I want to know what we can improve. And I want to know who else you'd like to see when it comes to this political phase of TRS. I always try bringing out the human side of the person. And I hope that you enjoy these conversations as much as I enjoy creating them for you. Lots of love to you guys. Lots of gratitude. Dr. Jaishankar will be back on TRS. Lots of love and gratitude and Peri Bona to him. Thank you, sir, for everything you do for the country. I hope to see you soon. Was an honor speaking to you. And it's always an honor creating episodes for you guys. Ranveer, we'll see you soon, everybody.
Atalji always knew me as happy. So, in fact, I remember once I had gone to meet him when he was Prime Minister. I sent him a note with my name, Piyush Goyal. And for about half an hour or 40 minutes, I was waiting outside his office. As soon as I walked into the room, he says, "Arey, happy तुम हो?" He, मुझे बताया क्यों नहीं? I said, "I sent you a chat." And he says, "Piyush Goyal कौन है?" He was that loving kinds and रात को 2-3 बजे कभी meetings करके big campaigns and all, he would come home. मैं पाँव दबाता था, हाथ दबाता था. Can I be your hype man?
Sure, sir.
So let's look for seeing you as the most successful YouTuber in the country, if not the world.
Thank you. Or the first YouTuber switches to politics and gets mentored by Piyush Goyal to
That is an interesting proposition. You got me there. So let's go for Mr. Allahabadia joining politics soon.
I will say something slightly spicy in the end. I won't be surprised if at some point, okay, cool. Another epic episode of TRS is here. This one is the first ever political interview that we're releasing on the Ranveer Show. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. This is with Cabinet Minister Piyush Goyal ji. This was a lot of fun because honestly, he came down to my level and spoke to me not like a cabinet minister, but kind of like a big brother. You know what I mean when you watch the entire podcast. My intention with political podcasts is to make it unpolitical, is to talk about development, is to talk about the future of India, and most importantly, it's to talk about the human behind the cabinet minister. Many more cabinet minister interviews are coming up thanks to TRS in association with MyGov. Make sure you stay tuned for all our upcoming episodes. Lots of cool stuff coming up. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, this is Shri Piyush Goyal, Minister of Industries and Commerce, giving his first ever podcast to yours truly. This one was fun. You're going to have fun and you're going to learn a lot. So make sure you watch it once again after you watch it for the first time, because there's a lot to learn from a political life. Piyush Goyal, sir, how are you?
Top of the world.
I'm very excited about this particular conversation.
Me too. I didn't know so much about your podcast till recently, and it looks to be an exciting format.
No, I'm very excited to be having this conversation with you because I have often seen you on television schooling some people, and schooling is always an outcome of a lot of data and experience. Every episode, I do a lot of research, and I can never bring up research points, but I can read between the lines of my research. The one thing that stuck out is, do you watch cricket by any chance? A little bit?
In the earlier days, now we don't get the time.
I would like to call you a bit of an all-rounder in this political world. You've handled so many different ministries, done so many different things.
Actually, that was a great opportunity because you learn so much, when you're moved around in areas which are technical like power and renewable energy was very exciting when you're looking at sustainability and the new age energy sources. I got a brief stint in finance, which was great learnings also. Ran the railways, which was a unique experience, the largest employer in the country after the army and the paramilitary forces. So I think everywhere I gained a lot. I learned a lot.
How do you begin? Like, how does the studying begin? Say you're given a new ministry. Do you study for it? Like, where do you
No,
start?
we don't know. We get to know as the day starts. You get to know that you're now going to be looking after this ministry. But I think the trick of the trade is, the first rule I tell all my colleagues is, forget everything we've done in the past. Don't ever tell me this is how we used to do it. We look at everything afresh. I learn, you relearn.
Okay. Can I shift gears now?
Anywhere.
Are you happy in life?
I love it.
Yeah. What's the best and worst things about your life?
Well, I can tell you that I have two wonderful kids and a fantastic wife who looks after me and my kids like anything. And nothing could be greater than that, because that's kept us all together. She's made sure the kids study well, make a mark in life, are respected. She's kept the dignity of the family. So all that has been the best thing that happened to me. But of course, this opportunity to work in government for 9 years, it's probably the best thing that could have happened to me. It's something I always wanted right from childhood. Not coming into government or becoming a minister, but wanting to give back. It was ingrained in me at a very young age, and I think there can be no better medium than politics or public life to give back to society.
But then it's all worth it because every decision is affecting the country's growth in some way.
In some sense, not necessarily every decision, but you take a lot of decisions which can impact large part of the country, often even beyond. And that satisfaction is to die for. Really, it's something that I've always craved, and the reason why I wanted to be in politics. And the satisfaction you get, let's say, when the Prime Minister announces that in COVID, we're going to give double the normal food grain to 80 crore people, free of cost, so that not a single child sleeps hungry. And you get an opportunity to actually run that program on his behalf, under his guidance. It's so satisfying, I can't tell you.
Do you think of the spiritual side of what you do? You're influencing so many lives at the same time through your work.
I am spiritual. I'm very religious also. I believe destiny decides for a lot of things for us. And clearly, if I'm able to do good for a large set of people, particularly our brother Indians, brother and sisters from our homeland, it is a lot of satisfaction.
Okay. There's this urban legend which says that you were mentored by Atal Bihari Vajpayee and L.K. Advani when you were a child, because your parents are also from the world of politics. Is it true that you got coached when you were a kid?
I won't call it coaching, but it's a very natural transition in your life. I could have been like any other kid, going to school, playing games, enjoying life. But due to the family background, we had this constant flow of senior leaders coming and staying with us at home, and you gradually become close to them. The other day, I was remembering in another program that Mr. Vajpayee used to come and stay at my home, even before I was born. But but he was a very shy person. He was never very open and chatty and meeting up with people in the home. He would come like a guest, stay and go away. But one day in the afternoon, I was playing marbles to myself. I was all alone. We had a wall-to-wall carpet, so it was easy to play marbles on that. And I was trying to hit a marble barely 3 or 4 feet away, and I was very bad at sports. Always bad at sports. Any sort.
That's why we do so many podcasts today, to make up for that void on the inside. That's why we take up so many ministries. No, I'm kidding.
And he came in, and he was nice and big in a lungi. He came in. He plonked himself on a puffy there. He took the marble from me, And something stick to your mind. He used the small finger. I still remember it, like as if it happened yesterday. And with this small finger on his knee, the thumb, and he goes 8 feet away, bang, hits the marble. And I think I became his fan that day. It was a day which made him very close to me. We started chatting with each other. There were times when people used to say that he's refusing to do a program, Piyush, now you have to go and get him to do it. In fact, he didn't know my name till he became Prime Minister. He only knew me with my pet name. He just didn't know who Piyush Goyal is.
What was your pet name?
Happy.
Okay.
That also
just
was
checking.
kept by somebody who would come home from within our RSS circles. And he saw me as a child in the cradle and he said, oh, he's so happy. We should call him Happy. So my name became Happy. And Atalji always knew me as Happy. So in fact, I remember once I had gone to meet him when he was Prime Minister. I sent him a note with my name, Piyush Goyal, Penton. And for about half an hour or 40 minutes, I was waiting outside his office. And after 30, 40 minutes, I said, if he's not called me, maybe I should go. So I told his secretary that, look, I'm leaving now. I must have got surprised that somebody's got an appointment to come and meet the Prime Minister and he's walking away without meeting. So he said, give me a moment. He went in, came out. He said, you're being called inside. As soon as I walked into the room, he says, "Arey, Happy तुम हो?" He, मुझे बताया क्यों नहीं? I said, I sent you a chit. And he said, Piyush Goyal कौन है? So he was that loving kinds and रात को 2-3 बजे कभी meetings करके big campaigns and all, he would come home. मैं पाँव दबाता था, हाथ दबाता था. He used to really tire himself out. And those days there were no luxuries. You had to travel in a non-air conditioned Fiat car, driving 100, 200 kilometers to do public meetings late into the night, come home. So he used to be really tired and in pain. But he would always ask, how's the family? तुम क्या कर रहे हो? स्कूल में क्या हो रहा है? बाहर क्या लोग बोलते हैं? बाहर क्या बातें सुनते हो? स्कूल में बाकी बच्चे क्या बोलते हैं? He always was very keen to have a feedback, what the young people are saying, what I hear outside, what other people who come home are saying. So it became a beautiful relationship, almost till the end. And I think those memories are really something I'll carry with me all through my life.
What was his most special human trait that gave him that kind of a legacy, according to you?
He was very, very humanitarian. He believed that this country deserves better, that we can do so much more for the nation. He was a poet at heart, always. In fact, I remember once he comes home in the afternoon and gives me a diary in which he had probably penned down some poetry in the journey to Mumbai. And he gives it to me and he says, "Ye padho." And he left it with me. Now, Atalji as a poet was not one of those who used to always rhyme his sentences. And I don't know about you, but what we learned about poetry in school was you have to rhyme. You have to rhyme and then say dime or whatever. It has to rhyme. You say school and then you use another word which rhymes with school. Maybe fool.
Yeah.
But his poetry was not rhyming. So when he came back in the night, I said, Chacha ji, I used to call him Chacha ji, ye kya likha hai? तो कुछ समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है. वैसे भी उनकी हिंदी इतनी हाई फ्लाइंग थी, कुछ समझ ही नहीं आ रहा था. And he took it from me, just kept it aside. But it was that lovely relationship where I could tell him that.
But did you notice any fiery tiger style leader in him at all? Was there anything that gave that away? Or it was all on the inside?
He wasn't very fiery. He was a very fun-loving, simple man. Very simple life he led.
Okay.
But a deep thinker. I know that he used to be thinking very, very much about the nation, about what's happening in the country, what could be done better. He was always concerned that the people deserve better. And I think his unfinished agenda, frankly, Prime Minister Modi has taken forward very, very ably. And I get a chance to work with Mr. Modi and to contribute a little bit is a matter of great satisfaction.
Do you think you become better with age as a leader?
I think different people have different experiences, and within each person, you have both the good and the bad. So maybe some of your habits don't die, and with age, they get worse. But you also mature with age, you also sober down with age, you also start becoming more wiser or compassionate with age. So it's a mixed bag.
Like, probably the one thing that increases for everyone is empathy or compassion. Probably.
Not necessarily for everyone. I hope it would increase for everyone. The world would be a better place to live in. Certainly it has in me. Today also, when I recount that Mr. Modi is the first prime minister who thought of our sisters, our mothers, our daughters not having a toilet to go to. Half the country didn't have toilets until 2014.
Yep.
Now, so many governments came and went. Nobody thought about a simple thing like a toilet. And here you have a prime minister who spends nearly $20 billion just building toilets for the poor. But imagine what a great matter of satisfaction it is to all of us that we protected the dignity of our women folk.
Yeah.
It's a small thing. People ridiculed him when he talked about cleanliness, Swachh Abhiyan, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan on 15th August 2014. But today we realize the game-changing dimensions that it has.
I think the long-term Swachh Bharat is also going to have a role to play in travel, which is then going to unlock even so much more money. That's the big complaint we've had even on the show in terms of if all of India was just more hygienic, you'd attract a lot of people from all over the world to see our beautiful country. And there's so much to see. But is this whole tourism in order to make money a conversation that you guys have?
I'll give you a small example that will tell you all.
Sure.
You heard of the Statue of Unity?
Yeah.
In Kevadia,
Yes,
Gujarat?
sir. Yes, sir.
The monument in honor of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, which Prime Minister Modi built. When I first went and saw it, it's a absolutely scintillating experience. Just can't get over it. The museum, the whole facilities, the whole ecosystem that's developing around it. I'd gone actually to do the Bhumi Pujan, the groundbreaking ceremony for a railway station to bring rail connectivity, which we did in a record time to the Statue of Unity. When I came back, I went to meet him and I was telling him how much I enjoyed visiting the place. You know, the Narmada Dam in the background, the water behind it. It's just truly awe-inspiring. So while I was talking to him, I said, sir, I can see that we could possibly have a 1 lakh crore ecosystem around it with tourists coming in and we can create facilities and all. So he looks up at me and he says, do you think I've just created a statue? Obviously, the whole intention is that we create the whole ecosystem. It's a tribal area. People will benefit. People will get work. People will get jobs. We'll have millions of tourists coming over there. We'll transform that whole area. And believe me, today, we have millions of tourists going there a year, both national and international. You can't go to the top because it's full pack the whole day. Getting a seat onto the lift to go up is very, very difficult. Unless you book in advance, which is all, of course, technologically enabled online. But you can spend 3 or 4 days there and enjoy the whole experience. And I realized that Prime Minister Modi was actually thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead of what any of us imagined when we were all talking about the Statue of Unity.
Gotcha.
Similarly, when you look at Banaras, I don't know, did you get a chance to go to Banaras?
I have, sir. We recorded a lot of videos there.
Recently?
Yes.
With the new temple?
Yes.
Complex?
Yes, sir.
My God, have you seen it before?
I have actually. Yeah.
So you can see the dimensions of change there?
Yeah.
Now, I recently was told that the number of people who visit that temple is now 10x. And it's been only a short period of time, a year and a half now. This way it's going. I think we can set up probably 50 or 100 hotels in Banaras.
Yeah.
And it'll fall short.
Yeah. It's a bit of a rudimentary question, but I get this question from a lot of my white friends and my friends from Africa and Arab friends. They ask a lot about the jungles, the beaches, and the mountains. So, is this also something you guys focus on developing?
Of course, it's biodiversity at its best in India. When the world is talking about sustainability, we have always believed in sustainability.
How do you convince the common man to be even more hygienic? I think that's the main kind of problem right now.
It comes very naturally. You don't need to do much. Just keep the place clean for a few days. Nobody will ever dirty it.
Okay.
In this room, will you dare to, or will you even think of throwing something on the ground? You won't. But if there was a small pile of garbage there, while walking out, you wouldn't have minded a piece of paper or a tissue paper. You wouldn't, because it already looks like a garbage dump. The idea is we have to get the place cleaned up once. Maintenance of cleanliness is not very expensive.
Okay.
Human being intrinsically likes cleanliness.
Yeah.
Tell me, even the poorest of poor in the village also, he keeps his own village, his hut, his surroundings very clean.
Yeah. I feel there was a lot of wrong things that happened because of colonialism in India. Systems were messed up. Lots of things were messed up. And over the last 75 years, we've been cleaning up the mess. And now it's that final 20% that's left, where we're trying to undo mindsets, be it in education, be it even about hygiene. I don't think traditionally we're unhygienic. I don't know how it's gotten introduced, but it's my theory. Something's gone on there. Maybe it's a conspiracy theory. I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't get down to conspiracies on this. But yes, I think there was a vested interest in keeping India uneducated, keeping India unorganized, making sure the Indians don't start knowing about the good things of life. And that was a systematic effort over hundreds of years. जो गुलामी की मानसिकता की बात होती है. And I think Prime Minister Modi, all of us are very, very focused that we have to get rid of that colonial mindset.
Yes.
And a simple thing like even our graduation ceremonies, that may be good for the winter months of the developed world. But I don't see any reason to have that gown with the cap and all in this heat of India.
Yeah.
I think we normally graduate in April, May, June, that period, right?
Yes, sir.
We'd rather have a nice kurta pajama or angavastra to graduate in. And gradually I see a lot of universities and colleges are doing that.
So as a YouTuber, I represent the youth primarily. That's my main demographic, and it's gradually changing because people like yourself are appearing on my show. I gotta share something I've learned. We have a Hindi channel as well, which we started 5 years ago.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
I mean, you are pretending you're a youth. What about me? I'm very old.
He's just an elder brother kind of youth figure.
I thought you're almost making a father figure out of
No, not at all. You're a big brother figure. Is that okay? Okay, fine. So you get a top-down view of people through data on YouTube. And especially if you upload a lot of videos, you know what people are watching, you know what people are interested in. On a Hindi channel, it's almost now become difficult to create content for the common man because they're getting that much smarter. And this wasn't the case in 2016 when the whole Geo boom happened, when we had just begun. You had to start off content from the ABCs. And now they're writing full-fledged essays. And in some cases, the Hindi content is of a higher level than the English content. Because I feel urban audiences kind of reject a lot of conversation if it comes out of a brown person. But Hindi-speaking audiences lap it up because they feel relatability. So I want to ask you from your macro perspective, because you're literally running the country here. What's changed?
Try to think of it. How many people in India really speak English? It's a very small population which is conversant with English. We believe that in South everybody speaks English. It's not so. It's the elite and a small section of Southern India which speaks English. And of course, a certain section across the country. But if I remember the last census figures, whereas English was the natural language for nearly 70% people, English was not even in double digits. So I think it's very natural that the Hindi-speaking audiences are going to be more demanding. And I'm sure all of you YouTubers will be better off also meeting the needs of the Hindi-speaking audience.
What are you excited about from the youth perspective of the country? Like where we're going in the next 10 years? I'm excited about entrepreneurship. I think that's going to take off a lot more.
But clearly, and because Startup India mission was launched by Prime Minister Modi in 2016, and it's housed in my ministry here, I see exactly what's happening. We have 100,000 startups today registered.
Yeah. Mine's a part of startup.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
We have over 100 unicorns. You are one in the making.
Yeah, one in the making.
And I see the dynamism of the youth when I connect with them, meet with them all over the country. It's so exciting. It's so rejuvenating to connect with them. Having said that, I think YouTubers are also playing a very important social role. Your focus on hygiene, for example, today is music to my ears. 7 or 8 shows like this on different YouTube channels, you'll get the youth also connected and thinking about it. I don't know whether the youth today, since they have not had to face many of the difficulties that, at my age or my parents' age, they had to face. For example, electricity. Now, youth today doesn't know what it is like to live without electricity.
Mm.
My father did. He didn't have electricity in his home. He would study under a street lamp. Maybe by the time your father or I and my son or you came into adulthood, we didn't have to face the kind of difficulties Mr. Modi had to face as a child or our earlier generations had. The struggles of the partition, for example. Now, a lot of lessons we can learn from history. And YouTubers like you actually are playing that social role and very, very important contribution to society. That when you propagate the past, the present, you generate hope for the future. And I think that aspirational India, the 140 crore Indians, today, with their basic needs largely taken care of, aspiring for all the good things of life that they see on internet, that they see on your show, that they see on television, that's what is driving India. Okay. That's going to supercharge the future of India.
Just do more of what we're doing. That's basically...
Do lots more.
Okay. How do we work with the government to just help you guys? How do influencers like social media folks help you guys more to take the country further?
Don't help the government. Help the country.
Okay.
Your job is to take care of the country's interests. And then you'll automatically be helping us. You'll be helping everybody.
Like entrepreneurship again.
No, now let me put it this way. First of all, we need to generate the confidence in our people. Every Indian should feel confident that together we can make India a developed nation. Now imagine if 10 of you at different forums talk about bold, big measures that we are all going to take together to make India a prosperous nation. It'll rub off on others.
Gotcha.
It'll excite people to do more.
Okay.
Integrity and a corruption-free India. Suppose more and more of you talk about it. Giving a bribe is worse, if you ask me, than the guy who's asking for it. Make your voice vocal. Speak about it. Speak up against such people.
Okay.
Let's get the youth of India, encourage them to fight against corruption. Let's encourage the youth of India to go in for skills rather than just degrees. Okay. Let's pass on the message that there's no work which is demeaning. You'll have a Bill Gates' son or daughter working in a McDonald's in America. There's dignity of labor. If we can spread the word of dignity of labor.
Gotcha.
I can continue on and on, but believe me, government cannot do everything. We are all in it together. And if we are all going to align ourselves, keeping only one basic fundamental in mind, that we are not going to fall prey to misinformation. We are not going to become proponents of misinformation. We are not going to start trying to appease a section of society or dividing society. We're going to be trying to get everybody connected and connected with hope for the future, with confidence for the future.
Okay.
No power on earth can stop India, my friend.
Okay. I carry the word of the common man. If you talk to say an auto rickshaw driver, and if I had to tell him that I'm interviewing politicians on my show, one of the first reactions is, "Arey, sab corrupt hote hain." It's like a very common stereotype. How much do you have to face this where people make assumptions about you guys? And how true is it? How murky is your world? I'm asking a very raw question here.
Well, every field has its good and bad moments and good and bad attributes. There will be a few black sheep in every profession. You can't wish them away. Obviously, you desire that they're not successful and they don't succeed in their ways. But we see all around us, whether it's in business, whether it's in politics, whether it's in the bureaucracy, so much so that it could be in every walk of life, including technology world.
Yeah.
Right? So when an e-commerce site, let's say, uses an algorithm and guides customers' choice towards one direction, whoever gives them the highest premium or highest commission, I think that's as wrong as is somebody else cheating the public in another way.
Yeah.
So I think in every walk of life, there'll be the good, there'll be the bad, and there'll be the ugly. Life is not black and white, my friend. Several
shades
areas,
of gray.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think all of us should make our sincerest attempt to work towards purity, to work towards white. And it's very much possible. I've been in government 9 years, and I have the courage of conviction to say that I didn't have to stray even once.
Okay.
And I was able to take decisions boldly. I was able to take decisions which were at times very impactful, at times could be misunderstood, and very often, if not always, criticized by the opposition. But as Prime Minister Modi has given us that confidence, we have to stay the course.
Yeah.
We have to be self-confident. We have to believe in our abilities, our commitment, and our integrity. But then the pathway is very, very easy.
Yeah. The question wasn't in any means a jibe at you. It was just like
I appreciate. Politicians have earned themselves a lot of ill will. I think Mr. Modi is set out to try and improve things.
Yeah. I was asking that question from the perspective of people my age wanting to get into politics and then fearing the shark pool. So tell us a little bit about the first steps in that shark pool.
When you first came on the show and did this podcast, I'm sure you must have been a little fearful also.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Second time.
Kept getting better.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Everybody who desires to serve in public life will have a little bit of trepidation, some fears, some concerns. And I tell you, it's the honest people who are always more scared. It's not the dishonest who's worried. It's the honest who's worried. And I respect that worry. But I still believe we need lots and lots of good people coming into public life. You know, I don't know if by the time you learned computers, this was being taught at all. But when I learned computers, one of the first things they would teach us is garbage in, garbage out. The computer is only processing whatever you feed it. Politics is somewhat like that. If we were all good people, willing to engage with politics, willing to get involved, willing to work despite a lot of adversity, we can truly transform the future of India.
What's the
I invite you to join politics.
Maybe. If I find a mentor, you know, you never. I had this.
I'm happy to offer myself.
Really?
Absolutely. If you are willing to look at society, look at your brothers and sisters in India, 140 crore Indians, as your responsibility, as people you care for, as people whose lives matter to you. I think you love being in politics. You can really contribute.
2 questions. One, I know that anyone in the world of politics is a very sharp reader of people. So you've read something and I want to know what you've read in me. 2, what is the basic skill set you actually need? Like there has to be some sort of basic potential energy there. Like Kohli, the first time he picked up a bat, probably hit the ball well. So what's the basic skill set?
I think, first of all, when it comes to you, I think your honesty shows, and you have a smile which is infectious. And in politics, both are very important.
Really?
Very important.
Like your look?
Yeah, not your look, your connect.
Okay.
Well, looks don't give you a smile. A smile has to come from within. And what people want are happy people. What people want are people who care for them. What people want is somebody who's empathetic to them, compassionate to them. you can do good politics, believe me. As can a lot of youngsters I come across these days. And I'm finding this increasingly becoming an area of choice for many youngsters. At the same time, continue your profession.
Okay.
Delve in politics, learn the ropes, but continue your professional career so that politics is not the means to an end.
Gotcha.
Politics should be your passion until you have enough for your family and your needs so that you can get full time into politics, which is why I'm able to do politics today. Because I spent 30 years in the business world and am today self-sufficient. Same way, I think you don't need any great skill sets. You need to be true to yourself and the skill sets you pick up along the way. Oratory, for example. Usually you associate politics with oratory. I can tell you, I know so many politicians who were absolutely poor orators. Some almost till the end of their political career, but their sincerity pulled them through. Some who picked up oratory along the line. So your connect with people comes from your heart. Your connect with people comes from your concern for them, your attitude to them, your being approachable to them. And naturally, people get drawn to somebody whom they trust. You have to earn their trust. That's politics.
What can go wrong in this journey? Ego.
Well, ego certainly can make you too big for your boots, and that's something one has to be very, very cautious about. Remaining grounded is very important. Good point you've picked up, my friend. What can also go wrong sometimes is circumstances. It can happen.
Luck.
I don't know so much about luck. Possibly yes. Possibly somewhat destiny. But sometimes circumstances also can go wrong. Can be misunderstood. Something may happen because of which you are even wrongly or falsely in trouble. All of those things can happen.
Yeah.
Those are the risks of every profession. Okay. And I think in business also people fail. It's not that they wanted to fail when they got into it. It's not that they cheated or they did wrong, but circumstances sometimes create a problem. Okay. So I think there's no guarantee of success in anything, but certainly no guarantee that you'll fail also. So give it a shot.
Okay. This is the first time I've ever realistically thought of this, because on the show we've often spoken about how the way content creation is going, we're capturing, I mean, I'm saying this, it is like me blowing my trumpet, but content creators are capturing huge masses of people. So at some point, at least a few of the content creators will want to shift to the world of politics and make a difference to the country in another way.
That'll be wonderful.
It's not a crazy thought, right?
Not at all. In fact, I would encourage you to invite people to come and maybe approach you. There are so many opportunities. In my office, for example, we have a lot of interns. We have a lot of young professionals, some of whom were here before the show started. We have a lot of them who do very well in the private sector, in their business life and the service, but they want to experience what public life is. They want to experience what working in government is, what public policy is all about,
right?
How laws are framed, how government thinks. And it's a very interesting experience.
I would look at the entire cabinet as a bit of a team, PM Modi being a bit of a captain. How do you describe your own team? And I'd also definitely love to ask you, keeping sports in mind, comparing it to sports has L's as well, losses. So if there's ever anything that goes wrong, what is the process? Like, do you all regroup and like talk about like a mistake? Like, do you all like, what's the process to become better?
See, very often the important part is the planning aspect. How well you've thought through a thing before you've implemented it. And if you have really looked at a project in full detail, you normally don't go wrong so easily. But yes, there can be mishaps. You can go wrong on some project or the other. And you have to have the big heart or the gumption to accept it and move forward. Very often you have to take a step back also if you've gone wrong. And I don't think that's very unnatural. In fact, if you feel you've never gone wrong, then that's something unnatural.
Does it psychologically bother you guys at all when the internet acts the way it does if something goes wrong? When people are like throwing arrows, etc., etc.
I think initially it does. Over a period of time, you learn to accept some of it as hazards of the job. What pains you only is when it's motivated or based on complete falsehood. It does hurt you a little bit.
Okay.
That, this is not what it is. This is not the truth. This is not what it was ever intended to be. Yes, that's not easy to accept.
Okay.
But otherwise, there are times when we have to take it in the spirit. There are times when you realize that everything hunky-dory and everything good may also not be very exciting for the world of internet and social media. They're like a little spice. So you will have to face flack.
Fear and negativity spreads faster. I have to ask you, are you thinking about the 2030s and 40s? Like, do you visualize that number? Like, I visualize it on a personal level and I think of where social media is going, where the internet is going. I can't imagine how you guys think of those coming decades.
Well, I, for one, am convinced that India is on a roll. What we have in India is unmatched with any other part of the world. We have a democracy, rules-based government, decisive leadership. We are transparent in our operations, which many other countries which have developed in the recent past are not. And the world today is looking up both to India and India's leadership. Look at the kind of accolades Prime Minister Modi is getting wherever he goes. Have you ever heard of an Indian leader being called boss? Or the world's most loved leader by the Italian Prime Minister? Some of the kind of comments the US Commerce Secretary the other day on a public platform was commenting on Prime Minister Modi's deep knowledge of technology.
What's the geopolitical angle here? Why are they doing this?
Well, I think, they can see India as a very, very important emerging power in Asia, which is the hotbed of a lot of serious concern. B, for the first time after many years, they're seeing India with an absolute majority government and a strong, decisive leader who's leading 1.4 billion people to becoming aspirational Indians, asking for all the good things of life, which means there's going to be demand in India. There's going to be a big market. So they see a big business opportunity. They see a big investment opportunity. We in India also need that investment to be able to grow. We ourselves are looking to make India a $35, $40 trillion economy. We ourselves want to see that the most basic infrastructure across the country should be available to all. Every young child born in India should have access to clean water, electricity, a good home, a family which has healthcare, which has education, all the basic infrastructure of connectivity around them, digital connectivity, physical connectivity, and with skills contributing to a better tomorrow for India.
Okay.
Now, this kind of an India is possible. And with the relentless pace with which India is growing, next 4 or 5 years, 7 years down the road, I see an India which will be like driving the world. We will be in the driver's seat.
Okay. Yeah, I have large hopes from the world of entrepreneurship. Again, I think that people don't know what's coming at them. When you talk to Gen Zs, people born after 1997, 98, it's very different mindset. Much larger scale thought. So good times are coming. At least that's the optimist in me believing so. And I think you're an
And
optimist.
I love that optimism. Keep it up. Never let it die.
No, for sure. You're very entrepreneurial. But I've gotten to know that after having this conversation with you. Like, there's actually an entrepreneur in you. And I think that's a part of the reason you've been given these ministries. Because in some ways, they are the ones that fetch a lot of money for people in the country and for the country in general. Do you think that's played a role? Your investment banking
It has
past?
hugely. I mean, right from the first day when I took charge in power or renewable energy and coal, I think both my education, the chartered accountancy and law that I learned as a student, my setting up a factory as an entrepreneur and a small scale unit at that. The project costs of my factory way back in the early 80s was only 19,80,000 rupees project cost. And the capital for that came from my father's pension, which he commuted, his superannuation funds, the pension, the provident fund, gratuity, leave encashment that you get after 30 years of service. That became my capital, which he was kind enough to give me, with which I started my small scale industry. All those lessons that I learned in the first 20 years of my life, running an industry, growing it from a small scale to a mid scale, the labor trouble I went through, the banking crisis I went through, all of that helped me learn, all of which is coming in good use today. My investment banking stint of 14, 15 years helped me learn the world of finance, understand business, understand importance of good management practices. And I think collectively, this experience is my biggest asset today.
Okay. You're a lot of fun to talk to as well. Like, I'm able to flow with you. I don't know whether it's a Bombay Connect. I think it's just two Bosco boys like connecting a little bit. So I'm having a lot of fun talking to you. I'm learning from you. There's a basic question I've had that I wanted to ask you from the start of this conversation. Mainly for the 13-year-olds watching this podcast, studying civics. What is a day in the life of a cabinet minister like? Is it a full barrage of like problems and strategy thrown at you? Because there's no way you know how a train exactly works, even though you're a railway minister. So there's got to be experts around you. Wherever there's experts, there's problems. That's what I'm assuming. And there's just a constant stream of tasks.
You have a lot of personal life also. So don't ever imagine that we are just like machines.
Really?
So my morning tea with my wife, with almonds and fruit, and the news with the 20 different newspapers and the television blaring away is a must-do. Can't start the day without that. Fortunately for me, and I think your viewers or listeners will also be commenting on my voice, I've had a throat problem all my life, probably hereditary in some sense. But during COVID, it used to be probably worse. And one day, sitting with the Honorable Prime Minister, he said, "You want to sort out your problem?" I said, "Of course." And he says, "You got to do yoga." And I still remember it was 16th of July, 2020. Going to be 3 years now. He got me hooked onto yoga.
Really?
Pranayam, and it's really been a game changer.
Even as a professional, it's probably benefited you?
Yes, because while you are doing all those asanas and pranayam and all, you don't have any other time to think about anything else. You're just following the instructor's directions. So it gives you a little bit of a peaceful time that kind of meet my time, And post yoga, I'm a little religious, as I told you. I would have ideally liked to say my prayers, but it's always difficult to catch that in the morning. Then you're on the work trail, then you're on a crazy schedule. And that's where I mess up. I mean, my lunch is at 5 o'clock in the evening sometimes. Dinner would be, I just had dinner before the show because I've got to go back home. I'm technically on antibiotics. And if I hadn't had that dinner, I would probably not be going back home tonight. So it's a natural family life like anybody else's. But during the day, it's a lot of work to catch up on, a lot of public engagements, a lot of meeting of people. When Parliament is in session, you're busy with Parliament. You're traveling very extensively throughout parts of the country, even internationally. All of that is work. But then I don't sleep without saying my prayers. Wherever possible, I'll do my treadmill before I sleep. If it's too late in the night, I'll at least walk for about 45 minutes.
And now you can start listening to podcasts on the treadmill.
I listen to bhajans on the treadmill.
Okay.
So that also I made as a routine. So that way I have to do it. It's made sure that I do my treadmill every day.
Okay.
Because I'm listening to the bhajans.
Gotcha.
And before I sleep, almost every night, thanks to COVID. There's a habit I picked up in COVID, and it's been a great habit. We watch one episode of any serial on the OTT platform. Very chilling, very relaxing. We watch some wonderful stuff on television. My wife and I, my kids are out, so we're just the two of us. It's our chill out time, but you sleep very peacefully because you've kind of got over the whole day's work. You enjoyed about 30 minutes or 40 minutes of television. I have just concluded The Rocket Boys. And I think that's a lovely day well spent before you get up the next morning.
Do you look back at your entire political career as having one difficult phase? Is there some difficult phase you look back to and you're like, okay, that was challenging and character building? Is there anything like that?
Yeah, you have those times.
If you highlight it, it'll be picked up by marketing agencies who'll use it against you, right? Like that's what I'm assuming.
It'll involve personalities, and it goes back so far behind. And most of them are, in any case, not here. So it doesn't make sense to discuss it.
As you carry your career forward, you get better with the media, right? Because that's what happens in a YouTuber's life for sure.
Well, that's for the media to judge. Really.
You're getting better with the media. Okay, fine, fair. This is why I'm saying I'm having fun talking to you. What I will say, I think we're almost at the end of this particular episode. So how was your first podcasting experience?
It's actually the first. I've never done it before. And doing it with a kid, if I may call
I'm 30, so I'm going to turn 30 in 2 days. But
you'll have to gray your hair a little bit or something to look like 30.
It's all the yoga.
You do yoga also?
Yeah, lots.
Oh, wow.
I listen to bhajans on the treadmill. Not on the treadmill, but I listen to bhajans in the morning, my shower. I listen to Bajrang Baan, if like that's something you're familiar with.
Wow.
Any?
No, I listen to Aditya Hriday Stotra and Durga.
Oh, Piyush Goyal, sir. Thank you. This was fun.
Thank you. It was really wonderful. Wonderful meeting you.
Likewise.
And wish you all the very best. Do well in life.
Thank you, sir.
God bless you.
Thank you so much. Just learning from you guys. This was my first true political podcast. Couldn't have asked for a better guest. I hope to talk to you for a longer chat at some point in the future. I will say something slightly spicy in the end. I won't be surprised if at some point, okay, cool. I won't say that then. I will just say thank you. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And all the best. And look forward to meeting you again.
There's a character kind of thing that friends used to describe me. It's called hype man. I'm a hype man. I say, yeah, you got it. So pardon this last bit is me just being my natural form as a hype man.
So otherwise you were nervous?
No. Hype man is, hey, you're going to be a billionaire. You're going to be the opening batsman for India. That's hype man.
Wow.
And every group needs that. So, the kids who don't get a hype man around them growing up have to be their own hype man. Therefore, the hype man for other people.
So can I be your hype man?
Oh, sure, sir.
So let's look for seeing you as the most successful YouTuber in the country, if not the world.
Thank you. Or the first YouTuber who switches to politics and gets mentored by Piyush Goyal to
That is an interesting proposition. You got me there. So let's go for Mr. Allahabadia joining politics soon.
And making India richer. Cash money, baby.
Let's make the people of India richer.
Yeah.
How does that sound?
100%.
Yeah. If the people of India are rich, the country will be rich.
Yeah. I've done enough geopolitical podcasts to understand that the game is actually money oriented. And I've done enough life podcasts to know that the game is secure yourself with money. That's my intention always as a YouTuber, that anyone watching this should gain value in one of the two directions. Either help the country in some way or help your wallet in some way. It is important.
And well, if you can help them get a purpose in life, both these dots will connect even better.
Okay.
Think about it.
Little stumped, but okay, fine. I'll think about it. And that's a great place to leave off this conversation.
Thank you.
Sir, appreciate it. You were very easy, very chill to talk to. You're my father's age, but what I will say is I felt like I was talking to a big brother. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you so
much.
much.
All the best to you.
Yeah, you too. Kind of count this as a little bit of a career achievement. I never thought I'll be bringing politicians onto TRS because I always looked at the world of politics a little intensely. I thought it would be too intense to talk to politicians, and that stereotype, that false narrative kind of broke when I actually got to speak to the cabinet ministers that I spoke to. Trust me, some incredible episodes are coming up. Thanks to MyGov helping us crack these episodes. TRS is going to reach a new level. I promise you, lots more content coming up with politicians. Please give your feedback on this episode. The political podcasts have only just begun. And finally, I want to thank Piyush Goyal, sir. Made me feel very comfortable. To be honest, for the first time in a very long time, I was slightly nervous as a podcaster, but he helped in dissipating that nervousness just a tiny little bit. Lots of love to him, lots of gratitude to him, and lots of love and gratitude to you, the viewer. Thanks for all your support. TRS is only just getting started.
The success of India's elections, this is a kind of model for the world. Imran Khan let the cat out of the bag before the last election, where he said, if Modi comes back, it will be better for Pakistan.
The IMF and Pakistan is the longest lasting love affair ever known to mankind. It predates Soni Mahiwal, Romeo Juliet, everything. मतलब ये
But
इनका
it ends up in a divorce after every program. फिर निकाह होता है, फिर divorce हो जाता है.
When India, in its parliament, decided to abrogate or revise Article 370, I happened to be in Islamabad. I had some inkling this would happen, but not of the kind of reaction Pakistan would have.
China is also very keen on an extradition treaty with Nepal, so that the Free Tibet movement people who are in Nepal, that they can get them back.
Are they still monitoring them?
Yeah, very much. What happened in Myanmar is 3 insurgent groups, 2 in the Shan state and 1 in Rakhine. They got together, and the ones in Shan state actually were being egged on by China. And then the Kaladan project and this Indio-Myanmar-Thailand project are also going to be held up. So your entire neighborhood first, Act East policy is now almost hostage.
When I had protesters outside my mission
Yeah.
in Ottawa, they would be waving Kashmir flags and Khalistan flags, the same bunch of guys. So, it was buy one, get one free kind of situation.
Taliban is a very peculiar case. Many countries have engagement with the Taliban, but no recognition or no diplomatic presence.
In Canada, there's a public inquiry commission going on looking at the Chinese interference, which is supposed to have taken place twice in 2 of their elections.
The CPEC, which is the part of BIA, is not really moving ahead. If at all, if you want to describe it, it's probably just limping and barely limping.
CPEC was we call China Punjab Economic Corridor because the Chinese felt ये पंजाबी अच्छा काम करते हैं.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the ANR podcast with Smita Prakash. The topic of discussion today is India's neighborhood. How are the countries in our neighborhood watching the Indian elections? My guests today are Ajay Bisaria and Tilak Deveshar. Ajay Bisaria is a former Indian ambassador to Canada, Pakistan, Poland, and Lithuania, who's recently written a book, Anger Management, on India-Pakistan diplomatic ties. He's appeared on the podcast before. Also in the studio is another repeat guest, Tilak Deveshar, author of several books on Pakistan and Afghanistan. Tilak Deveshar is also a member of the National Security Advisory Board. We broadly will be discussing how countries in our neighborhood are impacted by elections in India. Are they watching it with anxiety, interest, or envy? Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of the podcast. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you. But first, I need your permission. May I address you by your first names?
Please.
Absolutely.
I don't want your fan base to get after me. Ambassador bolna chahiye, and you have somebody in the national security apparatus, and tum itne casually.
Not at all.
Okay, thank you so much. So, since you're both practitioners of diplomacy and statecraft, I want to make this conversation about how our neighborhood is watching this election. Are they watching it with anxiety, or are they watching it with interest? How are they watching it? Let me start with Ajay. Since Canada, Pakistan, these are your postings, which I'm very keen on. Of course, I'm not interested in Poland right now. So let me talk about Pakistan. I'll get to you too. You've just written this book also on Pakistan. We just ran that in the introduction. How is the reaction been to elections in India? Are they looking at it something as something of the ordinary that just happens, or is there interest to see how the election is moving?
I think the big picture is that people are not expecting any dramatic change. So the expectation is that there would be a certain degree of continuity in India's government and also in India's policy. But having said that, for most countries, when there's a new government, there's a time for some kind of tactical adjustments. So I think this is what most countries are expecting, and particularly in the neighborhood, because they watch India more closely and understand India much better. So I think the overall expectation is of continuity with some changes, which could be more of a tactical nature.
What like tactical nature, in the sense that their tactics have to change if it's a Modi 3.0, or their tactics will change if it's an India alliance?
So I think there you'll have to deconstruct it and see how each of the different neighbors would see it. Because if we see our neighborhood today, what do we see? We see two hostile adversarial countries. We see China and Pakistan to our west, and we see two dysfunctional countries, which is Afghanistan and Myanmar, and possibly one more hostile country, which is Maldives. But for the others, there is a different set of circumstances for each. And I think for each one of these, for Bangladesh, for Sri Lanka, I think they expect a certain continuity in policy. There's a pause, certainly, while this election process takes place. But then we would expect to move on with a certain degree of continuity, but with a re-examination of the relationship and some maybe new innovations that might come if the expectation is that there is a Modi 3.0, which will be a even stronger government than before. So will there be a legacy term issue of leaving a legacy of even stronger relationships?
Right. Tilak, let me come to you. Do you agree with that they expect continuity in India? And you even monitor Pakistani media. So how are they looking at it? With anxiety, or with it that, a Modi 3.0 would mean a more of the same, which means no engagement with Pakistan?
I think there's a resignation and acceptance that Mr. Modi is going to come back.
Resignation. Okay.
That we better get used to it and plan accordingly.
Which means no visas, no conversations.
There is a, I would not say optimism, but a little bit of a feeling that a new government in Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, and Prime Minister Modi sent him a congratulatory message. There'll be a new government in India. Shehbaz Sharif will send a congratulatory message. Elections will happen and statehood will get restored to Kashmir in September or October. So that there is a feeling that this could mark a point of departure for a new beginning, because it gives Pakistan a face saving. One of the things that they've been talking about, 370, 370 is going nowhere. It is not going to come back. But at least a restoration of statehood in J&K, having elections and having an assembly, having a popular government, gives them something to go back to the people. Things are different. So that, I think they feel that could be a point of departure for some sort of a few hesitant steps. And then they feel that, they have to walk back. They are the ones who called off the high commissioners, and Ajay was who directly
I'm going to get to that.
They stopped trade. So they have to walk back. They have to express their determination not in a press statement in response to a question, but in a formal proposal will have to be made at the MEA to MEA level. So there is this kind of a little bit of suppressed optimism, but acceptance that the same government and the same muscular policy is going to come back, that if we don't behave on if something goes awry, then India is going to react even more strongly than what it has in Uri and in Balakot. So that is very much there in Pakistan.
So when you say in Pakistan, do you mean the Fauji's, or do you mean the elected government? Because in India or even in Pakistan, the view is the Sharifs are kind of soft on India. But will that happen? How do they see it?
Yes, in the past, Nawaz Sharif has always tried to, make an opening towards India, but he has not had any support from the army.
Because there was the Lahore Bus Yatra with Vajpayee, and he came for Modi's swearing-in ceremony in 2014. So these are two watershed marks as far as India-Pakistan ties are concerned.
And
with the
Sharif. PM Modi also went
to Lahore.
Yeah. But at all occasions, the army was not on board.
Yeah.
Since 21, there is a feeling that the Pakistan army is seeing the writing on the wall, seeing which way Pakistan's economy is headed and where Pakistan is headed. There seems to be some sort of straws in the wind that the Pakistan army could be on board to have a normalized relation with India. The back channel talks which led to the ceasefire in 21, the Islamabad security dialogue, where Bajwa made this famous statement of converting geopolitics into geoeconomics and move towards peace, that kind of a thing. Imran Khan that time was not on board for a change.
So whichever army chief makes that comment, he's shifted out then about normalcy, no?
No, Bajwa got his extension.
Bajwa
got an extension.
Okay.
So they will make these harsh sound. The other day, the Foreign Office spokesman made a similar kind of a thing, that we should not become a party to the Indian public discourse, and POK is very much a part of Pakistan. So these kind of harsh statements will be made, but I think below the surface, they will be hoping for some sort of a breakthrough. Everybody agrees that by not trading with India, Pakistan is suffering. Bravado is one thing. They also realize that India doesn't need Pakistan's trade. It is Pakistan that needs trade, needs lower prices, curb their inflation. Transportation costs are not so much. They're getting the same goods via Dubai or Singapore and paying that much more. So they realize it is to their advantage, not to India's advantage.
I'm going to come back to the trade issue, because there's a lot which on Pakistani TV you hear ki tijarati, and you can expect ki tijarat will be on focus because of the Sharifs, and then you have Abdul Basit saying that trade should not be on focus, we should not lose focus on Kashmir. So I'm going to come back to that, just remind me. Okay. But first I'm going to talk about the normalcy, Ajay, which Tilak talked about. What really is normal or return to normalcy when we talk about Pakistan? You've written this book on anger management. So tell us about your posting in Pakistan. Both of you have done postings in Pakistan. So tell me about your posting, and then when you were sent back, what happened, and your book also on this. So what is the normalcy?
Sure. So let me start with what Tilak said. I agree with much of what Tilak is saying. And really speaking, the ball is now in Pakistan's court. They are watching the Indian elections. And the decision point is, do we go back to 5th August 2019? What did we do then? We sent back the Indian High Commissioner, we downgraded the missions, and we banned trade. So if the noises about trade are that we should restart trade with the new Indian government and so on, do we start that? Or do we ask to go back to February 2019, Pulwama, when India imposed a 200% duty on trade and ask India to reverse it? Or do we go back even further to the December of 2015, when Prime Minister Modi made this unannounced trip to Lahore on 25th December and greeted Nawaz Sharif on his birthday, at the end of which there was so much optimism in the air that we are now moving into a comprehensive dialogue, and the relationship is going to take off. So we try to erase the bad memory of all the terrorism that happened? Do we go back to that point? Because you suddenly have the coincidence of the same situation. you have Nawaz Sharif more or less in power,
and a BJP prime minister,
and Prime Minister Modi likely to be back. So, in fact, now Nawaz Sharif, after his visit to China, is expected to take over again as the president of the party after a break of 6-7 years, and have a much greater say in governance. And as Tilak was saying, we also have a coincidence of this being a same-page government. So the army, this is a hybrid government. So the army, which has a greater say in all foreign policy and security decisions, seems to be on board. And I would agree with Tilak that from about 2021, when Pakistan started going through a polycrisis, it has made this so-called pivot from geopolitics to geoeconomics, which is essentially to say that, look, my economy is crumbling. I need to reimagine the way I run this country, and therefore trade with India is part of that piece. But
may I interrupt you? When I said BJP Prime Minister, I thought you're talking about when Modi went in 2014. You mean now?
No, when PM Modi went in 2015.
15. Okay.
So the decision point is.
So it was right. What I said was
exactly
right. I was just wondering whether you're talking about now. Okay.
No, I was talking about then.
Yeah.
And the question really is which era to turn the clock back to.
Yeah. Okay. The various watershed moments.
Exactly. Because if you recall, 2014-15 were moments when we had a pretty good relationship going with Pakistan and a conversation going. So PM Modi and PM Nawaz Sharif met 5 times.
Yeah.
And the conversation was very constructive, forward-looking. It's just that we got derailed by the terrorism that started in 2016 and then accelerated after that.
When were you posted there as High Commissioner?
So I went in a down cycle in the relationship. I went in 2017. But the interesting thing about this relationship, while there, you could argue there's been a down cycle from 2016 till today. We are at a low. But even within that period I was there of 2 years, there are micro cycles of some positivity.
This Balakot and...
Yes, so Balakot happens in 2019. Article 370 happens in 2019. But before that, there were some conversations, there was, attempts, because what happens is in 2018, we have Imran Khan elected. And the initial conversation was, can we do business with Imran Khan? And he made the right kind of noises when he came initially.
The Gurdwara and everything.
Yes,
Kartarpur.
Talking of Kartarpur and talking about, you take 1 step, I'll take 2 steps and so on. But before he could get going, we had Pulwama. So, spectacular acts of terrorism become deal breakers in this relationship all through, right from the 90s, if you see. That, even with when Vajpayee went in 99 with the Dosti Ka Haath to Lahore, it was Kargil that happened, and subsequently, terrorism and parliament and so on. So I think it is a story, at least in this century, of attempts at peace interrupted by terrorism and violence. Except that now India has had a muscular response, 2016 and 19, which is airstrikes and surgical strikes, which has set up a sort of deterrent to this kind of behavior. And on top of it, what both Tilak and I are saying, perhaps the army is beginning to realize that this policy hasn't paid off, and that perhaps the pivot to geoeconomics also means better relations with all neighbors, and particularly better relations with India, with whom we could do some trade.
Okay, so trade. So let's come to the trade part.
Which was trade. If you look at Pakistan today, it has got major problems with Afghanistan over the Durand line.
Yeah,
it has got problems with Iran. So China is one, all by the friend, but 3 out of 4 neighbors. And it was okay if Pakistan could sustain that kind of hostility if it was doing well. It's not. Economically, it's literally looking from IMF bailout to IMF bailout.
And their ACA is not helping America.
So he's gone. But even Saudi Arabia and even China are not what they thought they would do. So, and with India, it's a low-hanging fruit.
India is a low-hanging fruit?
Because of terrorism, they have to shut the tap off. What is India saying? That no terror talks, no trade with terror. Right? So it's a low-hanging fruit for them. If they're really serious about it, they can pull back. They also know Kashmir is out. They don't want to get anywhere near Kashmir anymore. It's not going to work. It is how do they sell that to their people? And one other factor before trade, which I've been thinking a lot, see, in Pakistan, people don't realize how much India has changed in the last 10 years. They are still stuck in a time warp, secular India and turning the other cheek, and terrorist incident would take place and India would not react. A lot of people don't realize that India has changed fundamentally in the last 10 years. Not only is a muscular government and a muscular policy, but the common Indian too says enough. We don't want terrorism. We don't want this kind of a thing, and we don't want you.
So is Pakistan more comfortable dealing with a weak Indian government, for example, if a coalition government? When I say weak, I don't mean weak as in maybe a coalition government doesn't have a kind of a muscular policy or will not shut doors so easily, take these kind of decisions because they're trying to save their coalition, more focused on domestic issues. So is Pakistan more hopeful of an India alliance where, foreign policy may not be completely the focus point?
They would prefer, instead of dealing with a strong government, one-party government, which has a strong leader, they would rather deal with, as in the past, coalition government pulling in different directions.
Like they would be more comfortable with a Mehbooba Mufti and on Omar Abdullah and other Kashmiri leaders in power in Delhi, rather than right now as a fringe player in dealing with Pakistan, isn't it?
Yeah. Because they know them. They know how they're going to behave and where they're coming from. In the case of the BJP and case of Mr. Modi and the other ministers, they don't realize how much they have changed India. I think because the representation or the media has not had a presence over here. So when they look at India as suddenly this aggressive power, fifth largest economy, going to become the third largest economy, and not really concerned, we have shut up Pakistan, as it were. Pakistan doesn't make a difference to our policy.
Yeah.
Economic policy, political policy, foreign policy, anything. That is something they're not used to, and they can't accept. Pakistan is being ignored.
I mean, is a double-page interview with a Prime Minister Pakistan doesn't figure anywhere. Yeah. That's what is happening with all the interviews that the Prime Minister is giving. Pakistan doesn't figure. Yeah. And I don't remember in recent memory when that happened. Even when dealing with foreign policy issues, it doesn't, though we have started this conversation on Pakistan, but still in foreign policy matters, it just doesn't figure as importantly as it used to.
Right. And in fact, Smita, there's some nuance to what Tilak said. There is also a strand of opinion in Pakistan that doing business with the BJP makes it more sustainable. So the same argument, in fact, Imran Khan let the cat out of the bag before the last election, where he said, if Modi comes back, it will be better for Pakistan, because then they feel there'll be a certain coherence in policy. Any deal that you do will be then, more likely to be agreed to. So there would be that narrative that having a strong government in India and having the army or an army-supported, army-led government in Pakistan is the best time to have a long-term contract, which is sustainable. Because, we've done deals with weaker governments and where the army was not on board, and then they kind of imploded and didn't work. So just like it took Nixon to go to China in 1971, it required a strong Republican government to do a deal with a communist country. The feeling also in the army and in some circles is that we'll have a more sustained deal if we do it with the BJP. If we do something with a weaker government and the BJP, even in opposition, opposes it, then it is not a sustainable solution.
Let's move a little bit from Pakistan. We'll get back to Pakistan. Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina's Awami League has had historically close ties with the Congress. So initially, I think there was a little bit of suspicion as to how will a BJP government under Modi function. With Vajpayee, she knew about it, but Modi was a different ballgame. But then there were others in the Modi government who were, who took the relationship forward. Awami League, how has that been? Because the BNP has been quelled. So right now, India is dealing with the Awami League only, not with the BNP. So how is Bangladesh looking at elections in India?
You see, the interesting thing about Sheikh Hasina on the other side and Prime Minister Modi here, they've been together for 10 years. Sheikh Hasina has been the Prime Minister in Bangladesh the last 10 years, is Mr. Modi. And if he comes back, it's another term. And she's also just been re-elected in January.
And I had gone to Dhaka to interview her, and with Sheikh Hasina, she has very warm ties with the Gandhi family, not just with the Congress party, with the Gandhi family, and historically because of Indira Gandhi and all. But she seems to be very warm, having very warm ties even with Narendra Modi.
Yeah. Because it's a government to government thing, and she knows where the national interest of Bangladesh and Awami League has got close relationship with the government. And also, I think Mr. Modi has a very friendly style whenever all leaders, he gets along well with all leaders. So there is that personal chemistry also, and a 10-year long association, and could well be into the 15 years. So that is one part of it. There are many things which have brought or bringing Bangladesh and India closer together. There's the connectivity, the train links, the energy corridor with sending a pipeline, health. Almost 50, large number of people from Bangladesh come and get treatment in India. The two blips in the relationship, which I think in the next term are going to be important. One is the Teesta. Some sort of a resolution.
Oh God, how many years?
Yeah, because now what has given urgency to it is that China is building a barrage on the Teesta about 100 kilometers from the border, which is also very close to the Chicken's Neck in the Siliguri corridor. So that gives an immediacy to that, you need to solve it. And one of the reasons why it is not being solved is because it impacts the federal relationship between the West Bengal government and India. So I think
And that is even though Mamta and Sheikh Hasina are very good friends.
Yes.
On a personal level.
Yes.
Mango diplomacy and fish diplomacy, all that happens. But when it comes to Teesta...
Yeah. So even when Mr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, when he went to Dhaka, she stymied that Teesta agreement then. So something will have to be done, I think, in the next term.
Including the conclaves, exchange of conclaves, but that happened.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
But, the Teesta, the water is something which is lifeline
very
or whatever.
Emotive,
very emotive and a very popular thing, which will rile up people. The second is the BNP started this.
But so that means that cannot be resolved even then, even if Modi comes, because Mamta's still there.
No, there are engineering solutions.
Okay.
There are engineering solutions, and this thing has been studied in the past, and people have come out with reports.
In your book also, you have this big section on water wars and how water is important.
So there are engineering solutions possible, but there has to be the political will on the part of the West Bengal government that, this needs to be done in the larger interest of... The second issue is the India Out campaign, which BNP has started. After the elections, after Sheikh Hasina was re-elected. So like in Maldives, there is this India Out campaign. So boycott Indian goods. So for example, this...
but I liked what Sheikh Hasina said, that if you're going to be boycotting Indian goods, are you going to stop wearing saris? She immediately turned around and said that. If it's India out, are you going to stop wearing saris? And it's something that you notice when you're in Bangladesh, that you don't see salwar kameez all that much. Women, whether Islamic or non-Islamic, are wearing saris.
That's a cultural thing, according to me. It's not...
Bindi and sari.
So it's been there for, ever since.
So this India out doesn't really work.
It works because, for example, this time in Ramzan, people noticed there was a drop in goods from India being bought.
Such as?
For whatever you buy for Ramzan, new clothes for children and things like that, there was a drop of purchase of Indian goods. So India Out is not only reduce the dependence, but also boycott Indian goods.
Okay.
This impacts Sheikh Hasina's government because it's been a very strong economic policy of the government. Bangladesh today is a $400 billion economy, $400 billion economy. A lot of it is due to the economic program of Sheikh Hasina. If you start boycotting Indian goods and the garments, etc., all come because of imports from India. If you impact that, then economic prosperity of Bangladesh gets affected. So while on the surface it is India out, but it is actually impacting Sheikh Hasina. So these are the two issues that India will have to look at in the coming months.
In the next election. Okay.
Yeah, and
so,
I would agree that the economic equities are very important because, you have a Bangladesh with $18 billion of trade and $8 billion of lines of credit. That is making a huge impact on the Bangladesh economy. And even apart from the fact that we've solved the land, maritime, and a lot of river issues. So I think that also adds to the fact that a prospering India in the future will be make for prosperity for Bangladesh as well.
Okay, so that leads me to Sri Lanka and Maldives. The India out thing on Maldives and lines of credit and prosperity when it comes to Sri Lanka. So let me get to Maldives first. The relationship has now downward trajectory. So tell me, how will a new government in India, whether it is a Modi-led BJP or a coalition which comes to power, whoever comes to power, how will this relationship change with Maldives? How will India have to deal with this?
Well, the hope would be that Maldives would also normalize. The larger picture is that it suits a lot of smaller neighbors to play two large neighbors or two large regional powers against each other and to benefit from both. Now, in the case of Maldives, it is really playing one against the other in the sense one out and the other in. And a more sensible policy, even from Maldives' point of view, is to benefit from both these large countries, both the prosperity of both these. So hopefully this cycle will change and a new government gives you reason to re-examine your policy and do some kind of tactical readjustments in what you're doing. So I would say that the ball again is in Maldives' court on how it deals with the new Indian government and how it decides to make this adjustment or this correction to what I think is a strategic error made by the Maldives.
But after this recent vote on account or whatever that he's got, he's going to get more aggressive. And then what we haven't discussed till now, and we will talk about it in the show about the dragon in the room, his relationship with China. So he's going to get closer to China, President Muzu.
Fair enough. He will get closer to China, and all the countries in our region will have some equities with China. But does it make sense for you to say, I will only have China, I will get India out? Or does it make more sense to say, I'll grab what I can from China and grab what I can from India? So I think that is where the tactical adjustments would have to take place. Because in contrast, Sri Lanka, for instance, when it went through a very tough time, India put in $4 billion. Yeah. India was the immediate responder in that particular crisis, and that has deepened that relationship. So I think it makes sense for all these countries to deal with India in a sense of trying to get the maximum benefits out of India's economic power and prosperity, and also get something out of China at the same time.
Right.
On Maldives, now, if you notice, Muizu is now more nuanced position. When he said India out, means uniformed Indian soldiers on the platform, the air assets. So he's now sort of, because see, it's one thing for elections. Elections is silly season in all democracies, everywhere. People say all kinds of things. But now